welcome to the Road to Glory. This is a look back over the well-traveled road of the May 24th road race. I'm your host, Steve Burgess, along with my co-host, Larry Dunlop. Good evening. Tonight, we'll look back in time over that fantastic and traditional race, the May 24th road race. We'll be right back after these messages.
Healthy people and healthy communities.
Mama, that lady didn't wash her hands with soap and water like we are.
Yes, honey, but you should always wash your hands because it helps to keep away germs and diseases.
I know that. You should always wash your hands after using the toilet or touching animals and before eating or making food.
That's right. And for grown-ups, also after changing a diaper or before feeding a baby or an elderly person. So wash your hands for good health. This is a message from the Department of Health.
It is a race paved with success stories, extraordinary individual efforts, setbacks, defeats, and eventual victories. May 24th, a day champions are born. Unforgettable races and unforgettable runners, Larry. There have been some great ones.
Yep, certainly. Stanley Burgess, Calvin Bodie Hensey, Ed Sherlock,
Max Smith, Tommy Smith, Mike Watson, Kevin Pearson.
and on the ladies' side, we had Sandra Mewett, Debbie Butterfield, Marinette Bean.
All great runners producing extraordinary efforts on that day, May 24th. We'll look back at some of the great ones, and we'll start with Sir Stanley Burgess. Now, Sir Stanley Burgess, a fellow that we call the Grand Old Man. He had a lot of stories about him.
Yep, certainly did. Used to train pushing a wheelbarrow up a bank, and certainly utilized that technique for other runners that he trained. But one thing about Sir Stanley was that spectators would never leave the finish line until he came on.
I remember being one of those many spectators as a youngster, standing and waiting for Sir Stanley to come into the finish line. Now, Sir Stanley was held in such awe and respect by other runners. We hear runners of today speak of Sir Stanley, a great one.
Yep, certainly. And during that time, runners were faced with many obstacles. They were faced with vehicles running abreast with them, combustion fumes. The race started at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the high heat and humidity of the day. And so you had to be an Ironman just to enter the race.
I cannot imagine running a race starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. However, one of the runners we did talk to, Beldwin Smith, ran back in those days in not Nikes, but some sort of running shoes. And Beldwin brings us up to date on what it was like back in the day.
There have been a lot of stories, Steve. As a boy, I lived in flats, and everybody knows the grand old man, Sir Stanley Burgess, and I often longed to run as he did run. However, it was way back in 1961 that I ran my first race. I was just about 22 years old at the time, and I stayed away from the race for that length of time due to the fact it was run as a professional race. And one always had desires of representing Bermuda or running as an amateur. So therefore, I did not enter before 1961. However, by that time, I was an old married man of 1 year. And I decided that there was probably not going to be a future in running, and I was working as a carpenter. So I entered the race, and I was pleased to run alongside the fellow I most admired in the marathon, and Derby, Sir Stanley Burgess.
Nike and Reebok were not around when you first went to the line.
No, as I said before, the footballers wore white, large baggy white shorts. That's what we used, and a round neck t-shirt, white socks, and a pair of sneakers. Can you believe running in sneakers? But nevertheless, that was all that we knew at that time, and so we did the best with it. And as the BTFA developed from its formation in 1971, runners became more aware of running gear, and then gradually saw it infiltrate the marathon, thank goodness.
Final synopsis. The race went from just being May 24th. Now it has grown extensively. There's a whole road running season. Runners are also allowed to travel overseas. Did you ever foresee anything like this?
Well, one always has to have a vision in order to improve a situation. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I saw it developing. And it's just great that the whole island now recognized running. Because back in the early 60s, when I tried to do a bit of training, people would slow down, decide to, oh, you're a fool running up and down the road, get out of the way. But today, there's much more courtesy, and most of the drivers are runners. And as you know, it's a plus for one's health to stay fit.
Wow, Eldon Smith talked about life back in the day, but Ed Sherlock was able to win 6 times in those horrible conditions.
Yep, certainly an Iron Man. And, you know, the secret to Ed Sherlock's training was that he was physically fit. He believed in calisthenics, push-ups, dumbbells. He skipped rope. He got a lot of rest. And he ate very well.
Well, you had a chance to talk to Ed Sherlock, and
Yeah.
they tell me he keeps a great scrapbook and trophies and so forth. He's very dedicated.
Yep, detailed catalog. And I asked Ed Sherlock what year was his first victory.
First victory was 1956, but my first race was 1955.
What times were the race held during your era?
It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Under what sort of race conditions were they actually held?
Well, they weren't that easy. Oil bikes and fumes in the air, and the heat. It had to be an Iron Man to come through. The first year I ran, 1955, we started outside of Cloud Basin, below Barracks Hill. It was 1955. 1956, we went up Somerset from Digwoods. Those days it was Digwoods, right? Because places now, right?
What was the most exciting victory for you? You won the race around 6 or 7 times. Which race in your mind was the best, most exciting?
Coming from Somerset, Mr. Guggip Lambert, he was leading the race to Crow Lane. Mr. Max Smith was my trainer at that time. And he noticed that Guggip was holding up the pace so strong, and I was leaning back too much. So he pulled me up. So those days, you had to work by the hand, seeking of the hand. And he pulled me up, and that was it. I was doing my training on Horseshoe Beach, right? Up and down the beach, up the hills, and then on the road.
Every day, every other day?
Every other day. But I work out every day, skipping and exercise. And I think it's racing much easier now. And I prepare myself for the race. I say to myself, I'm going to train hard for this race. If anybody beat me, training for me, they have to beat me. I have no fear. Because when I enter the starting line, I have no fear. All the fear was gone. Because I prepared myself for the race.
The domination of Ed Sherlock as he won that race 6 times. Bet you'd love to win a race 6 times.
6, just 1 for me.
That's a good one. Well, Ed Sherlock so dominated in that era, 1956 onwards, but he was followed by a great one, a man who we hold in such high esteem. We call him the man.
Yep, Calvin Bodie Hensey. Very mysterious and had a special mystique about him.
Remember last year how we hunted him down, his secret training camp that Saturday afternoon, trying to find him, but he had us in such awe.
Yeah, stays in excellent shape. Still does a lot of running, wears a hat, doesn't wear boots any longer. You know, I see him training in some Nikes, looks like it. But physically fit and no doubt looks like he's ready to run a race any given day now.
Now, you tried to find him this year, and you have that much respect for him that he declined the interview?
Yeah, he said he is not quite ready at this point to talk, but when he is, he'll certainly call me.
What we're going to do now is look back at how we held Calvin Bodie Hensey in respect last year, because after coming from his training camp, we felt very touched, and we look back at our feelings last year on Calvin Bodie Hensey.
Calvin Hensey. Mr. Hensey has been the mysterious runner in Bermuda. He has a mystique about him like no other. He used to win races, and then he would disappear. He wouldn't even stick around to be interviewed. Nothing at all.
The stories of Hensey, legendary, run away from the field. In this term of times, we talk of rabbits and pace setters, someone having to leave the field. But he showed true aggression, the ability to take the field out hard. Very few runners could stay with him. Again, his training session, second to none. Must have been intimidating to be on the starting line with someone like that.
Bodie Hensey, always a front runner, never never ran from behind, maybe his first race. But after that, his intentions were to come into the race in shape. He trained for it. He used to train in boots, and he was prepared mentally and feared no one.
The stories, again, of Bodie Hensley, they just abound. Now, yesterday, both you and I spent the entire afternoon hunting down this legend. His training base is somewhat secret, but to find him, I saw in Hensley the same person I had seen 15 to 20 years ago. Same form, same body structure. He's in great shape still.
Yeah, we certainly had a chance to speak with him, and we can see that the man stays in immaculate condition. He trains under the sun. He still wears the hat. In the heat of the day, still wears a hat.
I think one of the most fascinating stories has got to be the fact that this guy would run away from the field, finish the race, then go back to work via running, jump into his van and go deliver newspapers and magazines. Other runners struggling out there with the heat. The story's unbelievable.
Yeah, his conditioning has to come down to it, and his discipline. Very disciplined. Looks like he never drank an ounce of alcohol or anything.
He was a man before his time. I've heard runners say that he could have been even 20 years before his time. Yesterday, though, some youngsters were there, young track and field athletes. They were amazed. He has the ability to address the youth, give them advice. We talk of role models in these 90s. What better role model, particularly for youngsters? Calvin Bodie Hensley.
Yeah, certainly, Mr. Hensley said, you got to have a base. You got to build the body so that you can have something in the tank.
Endurance.
Exactly. When you need it, something must be there.
Those boots, the fact that he wore army boots and then wore lightweight racing shoes made him so light on his feet. He demoralized the field, destroyed them from start to finish, but his training, second to none, he was willing to pay the price. He says that's what's probably missing in today's runners. His times would rank right up there at the best of times today, 1 hour and 15 minutes. So he was before his time, but his training tactics are far superior to what we're doing today.
Yeah, certainly. Hensley put himself in conditions where he put himself in adverse conditions so that when he came to the starting line, he was more over-prepared for the race.
I take us back to some times that he had run 1 hour 15, unbelievable. Those times would rank among the best, as we said today, but he beat Cal Bean in one race by 11 minutes. Now, that time there has to tell you that this guy was ahead of his time. But to beat someone by 11 minutes in any race, let alone a half marathon, incredible.
Yeah, certainly. And I think that was the early days for Cal Bean, in fact, and I'm sure the Cal Bean that we saw in years later, certainly benefited from that experience back then.
Point well taken. 1974, Hensley comes to the line. He beats Cal Bean by a mere 18 seconds. Now Bean, he's ready to compete. He comes on a champion. Now Hensley definitely goes down as a legend, the man. Well, as one Cal was departing from the running scene, another Cal was on the horizon, Cal Bean, and he was a great one.
Yep, 5-time champion. And Cal's secret to success was simple, was similar to Ed Sherlock. He believed in being physically fit. He didn't believe in a lot of high mileage, 70, 80 miles a week of training. He said for him it was more sufficient to do 40 miles, but to remain physically fit. Calisthenics, push-ups, skipping rope, dumbbells. He had a lot to say. And let's see what he had to say.
Well, I think I had two good victories. I think one in 77, when at that time, I think prior to that, was like a semi-professional run. I didn't train like the guys train today. I ran every other day. I did a lot of physical training. I did a lot of beach work, more freehand exercise, because today they have all this type of gym stuff and stuff you can do to train physically. Most of the time, I trained by myself. I think in my first year of training, I trained with Ed Sherlock. I think he had retired from running, I think a couple of years prior to that. And we trained together for this particular race. I think it was in 69. Basically on May 24th, it seemed to be just about the hottest day of the year. And I think, they say about humidity and heat and everything. I think if you train for the race, particularly for that race, and if you're fit physically and mentally, I don't think the heat really has anything to do with it. You're going out there to run a race, and no matter what type of conditions it is, you just run. You got race just about every week, and you get guys that want to race 3 times a month. And I think that's a bit much. I think once a month for the real top runners is good. But if you're just going to run for the fun or run to keep fit, it doesn't matter if you race every week. But I think for the top runners, once a month is enough, because when it came to the actual race day, I didn't really fear anybody. I trained for the race. I knew what I was capable of doing. If I didn't win, I didn't say that I had problems. I just had a bad day. But if I had to fear a runner, it would be Mike Watson. I think that I would really like to run 24th of May again. Not to be competitive. This time, I think I would like to run just for the fun of it, so it will give me time to look at the spectators, see where I'm running, and just have a good time. Because I think if I got to the starting line just as a runner for fun, I think I would upset a lot of people because they really wouldn't know what I'd be all about.
Well, Calvin, again, another one we take our shoes and hat off to. Now, the fellow we're going to speak about next, I consider him more a marathon man. I've never really looked at him as totally just May 24th. He's been so dominant over the distances of the marathon, 26 miles. In particular, 1976, he went to Montreal to represent Bermuda in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Swan.
You call him the marathon man.
That's
I call him the ultra marathon man. Back in 1981, Ray actually ran 50 miles for charity, raising a little over $23,000. Ray is also the founding member of Swan's Running Club, which is still very much active today. And in that charity run, Ray finished and looked like he could have run another 50 miles. A lot of respect for him. I take my hat off to him. He won back in 1978 and also back in 1981.
Ray Swan, May 24th, we look at him. This individual, total dominance, Ray Swan, an incredible runner.
Ray Swan, what year did you actually start running, and how old were you?
I think it was around 73, 74. I was 33 years old.
Now, most people start running in their teens. Why did you wait so long to actually start running?
Well, I wasn't interested then.
And so who motivated you?
My wife, she really did, because she ran for charity, 5 miles. She was second. And I started doing that, and I said I could run too. So I've been running ever since then. Then Boley Hensley, he started training me. Then from there, Clive Long.
Now, take us back to your training regime. What sort of training did you do back then?
I was running twice a day, in the morning and the afternoon, 15 to 20 miles. In the morning it was like 7 miles, in the afternoon it was like 15, and Sundays was 20. It was running about 130 miles a week.
You also competed in the 1976 Olympics. Tell us about your experience.
That was great. I really enjoyed that. It was a good experience for me. I would like to try it again in 96. I'm going to try for that, I think. But that day was really good. I know I was heading to 26 miles because it was my first 26 miles.
Now, looking back at May 24th, you won back in 1978, your first victory in 1 hour, 14 minutes, 26 seconds, and you also won again in 1981 in 1:12:52. Which one do you think was your sweetest victory?
The first one was, because I didn't expect to win that one. Or I came back in the second year, tried to win it, and I got it. But it was really great. Both of them was great. But I didn't think I would really do it again, but I would love to. If I start training like I used to train, like every day and twice a day, I might try it next year.
So we will see Ray Swan competing in many more Heritage Day May 24th in years to come?
I'll give it one more shot after this one.
Oh, Ray Swan, the marathon man, an incredible runner as an individual. But not only were individuals successful on May 24th, there were also families. Great traditions were started with May 24th. The Ming family, we have to start off with them because they left their mark.
You have 3 brothers, Gladstone, Ted, and Ray. And Ray, to this day, still eats, sleeps, and drinks running.
And that's a nice diet.
and enjoys training other runners. You see him during races, helping runners out with giving them tips and what have you. And Ray said that one influential person in his early training career was Sir Stanley Burgess.
Also, Stanley, a guiding force with Ray Ming and the Ming family. But Ray Ming flies the banner high when he goes overseas. And we talked to Ray about life in those early days as he led the Ming family on May 24th.
It's a special day to me and a special day to most Bermudians. And I started running in 1964. I guess that's about 29 years or so, something like that, close to it. Funny enough, early on, my father, the late Wesley G. Ming, I hated running. And he used to take me out training with him, and take Ted, Gladson, Leroy, Eugene, all out running. And he played a major part, and he ran right up until 1959, the year before he passed away. The first year, Neville and Neil Virgil were first and second, Guns N' Georges, Keith Armstrong's and top four. Oh, gee, it just Max Smith, senior, junior, I should say, ran that race. He pulled out in flats, and Ronaldo Bean was there. If you didn't get out in front right away, there's no way you were going to get there, because between the first, say, 6 runners, there could have been 200 cycles. But it was a whole lot of fun, really, and it brings back some special moments in my life. Of all the times I ran, that means so much to me would be the year that I lined up with my brother, my coach, Ted, who played a major part in my career, and my brother, Gladson. The only thing that seemed missing was my father at that time, but he was there because I actually ran in his old sneakers my first year, so it was quite emotional. We spent a lot of years in Warwick, but I'll tell you what, and I like to remind people, we are from Hamilton, Pembroke, Pawn Hill.
It's important to
know. And you know what? We never forget where we came from. But when you talk about great runners, you have to think of the great one. You have to think of Calvin Hensey. Calvin Hensey is in a class alone. There's some good runners besides Cal, but like I said, he just is in a class all alone.
Now, I remember incidents where Hensey would lead the field, out of the field, literally, as you did 1 or 2 laps circling around the field and out the gate. But Hensey didn't lead one year in particular.
I was hoping you weren't going to mention it. Well, that was the year the race started at Somerset Cricket Club. And unbeknown to myself, my brother Ted, my coach, told me prior to starting the race that I must be leading the race when we get to Old Folks Home. And I had no idea why he said that, but he took me up there and ran over the course several times. And he said, you must be leading at that point. I didn't know until the next morning that my brother had quite a large bet with Mr. Calvin Hensey's father. That
Hensey felt that he had to lead a race. He had to be in the front. I play the role of rabbits these days, but he needed no rabbit. He felt he had to be in front. Do you feel that he somewhat intimidated other runners, or he was just that superior?
He was superior and intimidating. Many times, people just looked at him and they said, "Oh, well, I'm going to come second or third." He had it. He was, and I said today, I really believe that Calvin Hensey was like 20 years ahead of his time.
Sure. He went on to run a marathon or 2. His training, phenomenal. Army boots, lots of hill training. His stories after the race are legendary, going off and delivering papers.
Yeah, but not only that, see, it's a lot of things with Cal Hensey. Cal Hensey also takes care of himself, eats good, trains right. And he lives a very healthy life. Today. Still running today and helping people a lot more than people realize.
As we put Hensey in that bracket, we also think of another great one, Sir Stanley Burgess.
Sir Stanley Burgess. Sir Stanley is the right name for him. He was very good to me in my first year. I remember I was being so nervous and didn't know what was going to happen. My brother Ted was trying to calm me down. He gave me warm water, everything, tried to calm me down. And I just walked in for that. This little tiny man just came up and gripped me by my arm and said, young Wesley was my father's name, said, just go out there, enjoy your run, and you'll be amazed what will happen.
He wasn't very large in size, but he had a big heart, strong legs.
He was a very strong man. He invited me down a few years later to train with him down in Flats. and I thought we were going to go for a run. And I arrived at his house, and he had this wheelbarrow with 2 bags of cement, 50 bags of 50 pound bags of cement. And I didn't know what we were going to do. And he got me to push these wheelbarrows over flat seal about 3 times. And I got to tell you that I don't think I went down anymore.
That's the equivalent to running New York Marathon.
I practically died. No, but he was good. I went to have chats with him very often.
I hear all runners throughout speak very highly of Sir Stanley.
Yes, he was a very nice man. Yeah.
Very much in class.
Great athlete too. And I just hope that we can encourage more to come out. But I just love the sport, and I love to help. I don't want anything in return. If they say thank you, that's enough for me. And all the people I train, I've never charged $1. I never will.
It's beautiful.
I don't intend to. I just love the sport, and I love Bermuda.
Okay.
Healthy people and healthy communities.
Dear Mommy and Daddy, I feel so much better now since we started walking and eating healthier foods together. Other kids used to tease me about my size, and last year my school nurse said that I was overweight for my age and height. Now she tells me that my body measurements are in the normal range. Thanks for helping me to be healthier and feel better about myself. Love, Kaylee.
This is a message from the Department of Health.
You're watching CITV.
Continuing with the family tradition at May 24th, we look at a family that was actually 2 in 1. You see, they were twins. They were Neville and Neil Virgil. And boy, did they dress the part. These guys used to look like they were going to a party. They were so immaculately dressed.
Yep, and they were good runners. They were both the same physical physique. They dressed alike. They ran close together, and they were extremely good. In fact, in 1964 and 65, Neville won the race, and in 65, they finished 1-2. However, there was one outstanding thing about them, and I had a chance to talk to them, and we will find out.
My successful year in the Marathon Derby was in 1964, and my brother ran in 1963, which we started taking us about 3 weeks to train, and he ran. He was the first one to take part.
My first year in 63 was a great experience. I think I finished up 3rd that year. I wasn't sure, but I can check back in the records. But the only way was fantastic. Was a lot of experience, and that time that we ran in 63 is not like today. Today is more organized, more control, more everything. But on the whole, I think 24 May it's the best.
Well, at that time, everything was just 24th of May, and we weren't that much races. I don't think there was any. But as a young chap, I used to play cricket, football for the summers of coats. He used to play baseball, so he was more or less active all the time. So I think in 63, my brother made up his mind he was going to try it. I said, hey, go for it.
But on the whole, I think, hey, running is great. And today it's a different ball game. It's competitive today because you got more races on today. You know, every week you got a race on. So you build yourself up for 24th of May. And 24th of May, hey, it's the best out of the whole year for racing.
Now, as a youngster, I recall watching you gentlemen, both of you, in fact, wear white gloves. Just like this.
Yeah, it's true.
What was the significance of that? Is there some religious behind that?
No, and I actually got it from the News of the World. I think he was a young English chap. I don't know him offhand, but he used the gloves for a handkerchief. Rather than having the handkerchief down in your side, more or less when you go down there on your side, you lose concentration. So you have your gloves on, all you have to do is put your hand up and wipe the perspiration off your head and whatever you want to do, and all in the same times in the motion. Well, everybody in that race was a winner. Hey, everybody was friends, but when it came to that actual day, hey, dog eat dog. Everybody was a winner, but somebody had to hit that tape first.
Well, I see in 1993, the conditions are much better. You got more water stops, you got more professional time, and you got more professional people.
So you have to turn the clock back to sometimes to get the people the feel of it. Hey, 24 for me, to me, is a special day. It's like cup match. And I say to all the runners out there today, it's a running Monday. Whether you're first, second, third, just go by your plan, and everybody's a winner.
But I'm happy. Whatever happens today, I wish everybody best of luck and keep running.
The Butterfields are next. Jim and Debbie. We say them in that context because they perform at a very high level together. Jim, a champion and athlete in his own right, and Debbie, leaving her mark on many a May 24th race. But let's start talking about Jim. You know that guy well?
Indeed. Anyone should know a person that finishes 7th in the Ironman triathlon.
A tough competition, they tell me.
Indeed, indeed.
Debbie Butterfield, 7-time winner in the May 24th race. Now, Debbie, you raced her sometime, somewhere along the way?
Oh, yeah, many duels, and believe me, she won every time.
Now, they came and set the record straight with regard to running clubs. Swan's Running Club in existence, but they helped form the Mid-Atlantic Running Club. And I think I saw you down there running some of their 2-mile fun runs back in the late 70s.
Yeah, and it was fun. However, when it came time to race time, it was no longer just a fun run. It was a race, actually. We had a 2-mile loop, and if you went around twice, it was 4. A lot of runners used to come down just to tune up for races, and it was a great tune-up.
Well, that club's still in existence today, the Mid-Atlantic Athletic Club, and those 2-mile fun runs are still there. Want to take me on? Well, we'll talk about the Butterfields because Jim and Debbie, we see them in the same context. They've got 2 sons coming along now, Spencer Butterfield and Tyler Butterfield, 2 sons that are going to leave their mark for the Butterfield, so the family tradition will go on and on. But we'll talk now with Jim and Debbie Butterfield.
Stevie, I guess when I think back over the years, we've come from the days of professional running when we came back from college almost 17 or 18 years ago now, and it was the big pull between staying with the money event and the professional event, the one that Bermuda had known for so long, and then people like us who are just amateur runners who were quite happy to win a drink somewhere or a dinner somewhere or a trophy, and that was the end of it. But I remember that was a real struggle in the early days, but it's always been a fun event and a real community event. That's when you ask me what are my impressions of 24th of May year after year, a community day. But I do remember those early days when some people wanted to keep it what it had been for so many years. The heritage was a sort of money event where you won a cash prize, and so we had to say goodbye to that to make it an amateur event.
Debbie, your career at 24th of May goes back so far, 7 victories. Does one of them stand out as being special?
Yes, I think so. It was probably the year after I had Spencer, so it would have been 1982, and Marionette Bean was running, and she was a big challenge to me. I wasn't sure if I could even finish the course, much less win, and I did. So I think that memory stays in my mind.
Debbie Butterfield, leaving her mark in the record books 7 times. Now, she was followed by another great runner who came along and decided, I'm going to challenge Debbie and go one step further. She went and did it 8 times.
Sandra Music. Certainly didn't look like someone to fear at the starting line, but if you try to stay with her in a race, you couldn't. She was very fast. And it's actually the record holder for the distance. She ran a 1:19.56 back in 1989, and her first victory actually came in 1984, as late as 1992. So she's very talented, very consistent, and trained extremely hard.
Yes, we've heard about the training sessions that Sandra Mewett has done on the golf course. Sandra Mewett and Debbie Butterfield both went on to have great success at the marathon distance as well.
Yeah, and then we had Jane Christie, who snuck in there. Debbie and Sandra were absent that year. Jane Christie ran a 1:26 that year back in 1983.
And Marinette Bean, sister to Calvin, also had her name stacked in the record books twice, I do believe.
Yeah, she won the first female division back in 1976 and came back again in 1981. Very talented runner in her own right.
And of course, one more name will go in the book. Anna Adderley. Last year, 1993, she pulls off a surprise victory.
Yep, a great race. She paced herself and she passed Maria Conroy Hayden at around 9 miles and went on to win in just under an hour 22.
5 names in the record books when it comes to May 24th for the women. There will be others to join them in many years to come. But that's a look at the women in the May 24th road race.
Healthy people and healthy communities.
Mama, that lady didn't wash her hands with soap and water like we are.
Yes, honey, but you should always wash your hands because it helps to keep away germs and diseases.
I know that. You should always wash your hands after using the toilet or touching animals and before eating or making food.
That's right. And for grown-ups, also after changing a diaper or before feeding a baby or an elderly person. So wash your hands for good health. This is a message from the Department of Health.
A new era dawned upon us. Yet, the era was the era of the track runners, and they were led by a young stallion back in 1983, a gentleman by the name of Kevin Pearson. Unfortunately, Larry, I was away at school. I didn't get to see young Kevin Pearson destroy the field.
Yep, that was a spectacular race. Kevin waited to Barnes' corner, and then he put on the afterburners and pulled away from the pack and went on to win in a course record for the old May 24th course in 1 hour 12 and 22 seconds.
A young track star, Kevin Pearson, unfortunately had to retire due to kidney ailments. But Kevin Pearson, at 18 years old, left his mark.
Yeah, he said that year everything came together. He had been training overseas, been competing in races. He had set a Bermuda record for the 10K in just under 31 minutes. So everything came into play, and on that day, he shined.
We look now at Kevin Pearson's interview, and it was an interesting interview that Larry Dunlop provided because he did it via telephone, and Kevin Pearson called it.
The best thing for me, that was clearly the biggest race for me in terms of both spectators and just sort of fame, I guess, within Bermuda. So that's really the reason it turned out to be the most important for me. I had a great race that day. That was probably the best that I've ever run in my life. Actually, both my parents were extremely important. I really started running when I was probably about 7 or 8 years old, and that was really following in the footsteps of my father, who started at about the same time. So obviously that had a very strong influence on me. I would also say, though, that I had always loved running. I had always wanted to be a runner for as far back as I could remember. So, that was kind of I guess my father ended up being the real catalyst for me. Once he started out running, it was very easy for me to follow. Of course, a lot of people felt that because I'd been training primarily on a track, that the different terrain of the May 24th and the length of the race would prove almost impossible for me to overcome. In fact, what I really found is that some of the training that we were doing was so intensive that it actually helped me really in that we were doing not only just regular sort of 4x800 training, for example, but we were also doing a lot of alternating distances, which I think really prepared me tremendously for the hills, because in that kind of a training environment, you're pushing it for first a few minutes and then relaxing, pushing again, but this time for a longer period, and so on. And that actually ended up preparing me tremendously for that race.
The track era continued. Kevin Pearson, followed by a great one, Mike Watson, the man they said who trained with a horse. Speed abounded in Mike Watson as he flew out of Somerset that time in May 24th, and he's won some great ones.
Yep, he has. Mike being a 4- or 5-time winner himself. I have a lot of respect for Mike, and the reason is that Mike's been able to maintain a high level of competition for a very long time. A lot of longevity there. Just much like the great Carl Lewis overseas. I had a chance to speak with Mike, and I asked him what was his most exciting victory.
The most exciting race for me was the first time I won it. Probably the most exciting race for the fans was the last time I won it. Primarily because the first time I won it, I managed to outkick the great Calvin, And the last time I won it, I won it off sheer guts and determination. So I think that kind of went well with the fans.
Take us back to that race in 1991. I recall Terrence Armstrong was in that race, one of his training partners from school, Mark Perry, Tracy Wright, Brett Ferguson, I believe. The first couple miles was running like around 5-minute pace, per mile pace. Take us back to that actual 1991 victory of yours.
Well, that was an interesting race because, in actual fact, what happened was we were coming out of Somerset as a group, and Terrence and his schoolmate was there talking and discussing what their plans would be in order to drop the rest of the field. And I was kind of listening in on the conversation, and I heard him say something to the effect of, what you think, we should speed up a bit or ease back? And I kind of was listening and kind of said to myself, well, I don't know if they're trying to psych me out or what. But I said, but I tell you what, I'm going to reverse the situation. And I jumped in on the conversation and I said, look, you guys, probably the best thing to do is speed it up a bit. And they looked back at me like I was crazy or something. And I decided, well, if they're not going to speed it up, I am. And that's when I took command and went on to win the race, more or less. One thing I had on my side at that time, I was strong from pushing a wheelbarrow up a ramp. And it took me, I guess my determination was such that it took me a long time to wear down. And I just kept going right to the end. And at one point, Terrence's friend came back up on me. And a lot of people got excited. But you know, when you're racing, the only things on your mind, especially if you're an aggressive competitor, the only things on your mind about, now how I'm going to figure out to beat this guy, you know? I wasn't thinking like he's going to beat me. I was thinking this guy's going to have to run to beat me. And again, he came to me talking, what do you want me to help you with the pace? I said, yeah, sure, let's go. And he went in front of me. And it felt to me like he was slowing the pace down. So I took the lead again and sped up a bit, and he didn't respond. And then I went on to win the race.
Well, as Watson and Pearson were blessed with that lovely ingredient called speed, the next gentleman who came on the scene, Tony Ryan, was blessed with something else, strength.
Tony Ryan was a triathlete, and therefore he combined cycling, swimming, and running. And he usually won on days when it was hot and humid. And he had some great duels with Mike Watson. Tony actually won his first time in 1986 and again came back again in 1989 and 1990 to win it. I had a chance to talk to him, and here's what he had to say.
That one and the first one, it's a bit of a toss-up. The first one was a long shoulder-to-shoulder battle with Mike Watson in 1986. In 1988, I had the lead, I guess, a little earlier, but certainly the pace was maybe a little bit faster.
Yes. Looking at your training when you were back in Bermuda and you were in peak form, what sort of training brought you the type of success you experienced here in Bermuda and on May 24th?
Well, for me personally, I found the key was centering and really concentrating on that race only for the previous 2 months or so before the race, and particularly the previous month. April and March weren't, April and May weren't big race months for me. I'd be concentrating my training on longer distances and hill workouts to really complement the course and the distance that Marathon Derby presents to you. And I found that was really key for my success.
Yeah. So what sort of miles per week were you actually doing during that time? Were you running 60, 70 miles a week or even?
About 55 to 60 miles a week, I seem to remember. The longest runs would generally be Sunday afternoons in the heat, about 16 miles. Never had a running coach per se, I don't think. I take advice from people from now and then, but my training was designed by myself, and for the most part, I trained by myself. I always enjoyed that.
Yes. May 24th, as we know, always hot and humid. Training in the sun. Did that prepare you for that day?
Yeah, I mean, I always found it was really important to try and get some the runs, not at 10 o'clock at night when it's nice, fairly cool, but during the heat of the day, and particularly the longer ones. So if I could at all, I'd try and get my long run in the week, usually 15 or 16 miles, and do it on the weekend in the heat of the afternoon or 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which I wouldn't recommend for everybody. But if you're in very good shape, you can monitor your own body, then I found it did assist me anyway to deal with the heat and humidity on race day.
Well, alongside Tony Ryan and all those other champions, there were so many more. 1979, we take a look back. Gary Buster Wilkinson gets credit for that race.
Yep, Gary in his own right, a track star, great, once held the 800-meter racket. Unfortunately, that year, a foreign runner came down from the States and sort of stole his show.
Well, Cooper Schmidt gets the victory, but Gary Buster Wilkinson will go in the record book. Jeff Payne wins in 1980.
Yep, very fast over 5 miles. Still holds the old Elbow Beach 5-mile record in just under 25 minutes. A lot of respect for Jeff.
Jeff Payne now tearing up the roads on a cycle. To talk about cycle, look back to 1990. A so-called cyclist wins May 24th.
Yep, Tracy Wright had a head-to-head duel with both Mike Watson and Terrence Armstrong. And in that race, they both battled for 11, 12 miles. And at Marketplace, the hill coming into town, Tracy decided to make a move. In fact, he caught those guys off guard and went on to win in an impressive time, 1:13, I believe.
I'm sure Mike and Terrence thought he had a bike as he pulled away. Mike Watson wins in 1991, but 1992, a so-called marathon runner, Errol Cormack, wins.
Yeah, Errol, not blessed with speed, not known for his speed, but some of the big names were absent, and Earl chose that day to cash in.
Well, Cormack gets the victory in 1992. Now, 1993, Kevin Smith wins. We'll talk about how last year's race went. But let's talk about the future. The future is going to be great. It's going to be fast. Michael Donovan is the name of the street right now. He's got lots of speed.
Yep, Front Street Mile, no doubt. Mikey, but it'll be a while before we actually see him. I think he'll be concentrating on school and concentrating on shorter distances first.
Now, he's got a brother, Jay Donovan, that's away in school studying, but another athlete that's away studying just ran 4:03 for the mile this week.
Terrence Armstrong. And no doubt, I'm getting excited because I can't wait until he returns. That 1:11.27 set by Kevin Smith last year, I think that's well within Terrence.
I know you love statistics, and I hear you reading off those times. Yes, the 1:0s are coming. There's going to be a fast time for 24th of May. It's going to go down to the 1:0 territory. Benjamin Dyer, Sharif Taylor, Spencer Butterfield, these are the athletes that are going to bring the times down.
Yeah, they got a track background, and no doubt if they stay in school, get their education, and still maintain a high athletic abilities, no doubt we'll see fast times in the near future.
Youngsters going to the line this year expecting to battle Quinnell Robinson and Sheldon Thompson. But let's talk about some of the young girls coming along.
Yeah, from the Front Street Miles, we see Velvet Smith, Heidi Medeiros, Sue Ellen Matthews, to name a few, and including Tamika Williams.
Fast times are expected by these youngsters.
Healthy people in healthy communities.
Has public health ever touched your life? Well, ever had a vaccination? That's public health. Expect the restaurants you eat in to be clean and safe? That's public health. Ever read a brochure on HIV and AIDS? That's public health. You thought public health never touched your life. Think again. The Department of Health, promoting well-being for everyone.
For the 1994 Road to Glory, I'm your host, Steve Burgess, who along with Larry Dunlop, my co-host, we've enjoyed bringing you this show. Good night.
We hope you have enjoyed the previous program produced by
Hello, Bermuda. I hope you're all staying safe and well. This is the time of year when typically Bermudians come together to celebrate our heritage, our culture, our family connections, our national pride, and our national unity. However, the impact of COVID-19 means that Heritage Month and Bermuda Day must be observed differently. This year's theme for Heritage Month is We Are Bermudian, and it is an extremely worthy theme to embrace during this unprecedented time in our history. As we observe Bermuda Day, my hope is that we take some time out to remember the extraordinary efforts of our frontline workers, including those who are uniformed services, our doctors, our nurses, farmers, grocers, and others who are making sacrifices and working hard to keep us all safe. In this time of separation and physical distancing, let us hold fast to those things that connect and bind us. In lieu of parades in the streets, let's use this time to celebrate our heritage and celebrate our people. Let's celebrate our strength and resilience. Let's be proud and thankful for one another, and let's make this as memorable a day as possible. On behalf of the Ministry of Labor, Community Affairs and Sports, I wish you all a safe and happy Bermuda Day.
We love Bermuda Day because it gives us the full opportunity to express ourselves through movement and embrace our culture.
The following program was produced by former local broadcasting company VSB Television. In the interest of Bermuda's history and culture and in recognition of Heritage Month, the Ministry of Community, Cultural Affairs and Sports and CITV proudly present this program in its original format.
It was Empire Day, then Commonwealth Day, and finally Bermuda Day. And in 1910, the men who set out to run a friendly road race for a few pounds could not have envisioned what it has evolved into today. The addition of the Heritage Cycle Race, the Rollerbladers, and the Junior Road Race makes Bermuda Day the biggest sporting day on our calendar. Welcome to the 1998 VSB Heritage Day Sports Special.
I love Bermuda Day because I get to see the Gumbies dancing.
High five, buddy.
I love the River Storm on Bermuda Day. Daddy!
Well, good evening, sports fans, and welcome to Somerset. This will be the start for today's sporting spectacle. It has rollerblading, it has cycling, but of course there's running. And running brings to the forefront all the great names of the past. But our team, it's a great team. It features Larry Dunlop, Myra Braham, and Don Burgess. And of course, I'm Steve Burgess, and we'll be bringing you all the sporting coverage. For today's cycling coverage, we go now to Don Burgess.
Well, it's going to be exciting, Steve. One of the great things you can predict about the Heritage Day cycling race is you can't predict who the winner's going to be. All the big guns are out there. Damian Wilson, Dana Henry, McGinnis Luby, Carlos De Silva, Steve Sterrett, and some have tabbed youngster Nuri Latham as a factor this year. So the interesting thing is to see who's going to have enough legs when they get down to Cedar Avenue to pull off the victory. This is Don Burgess with May 24th winner, McGinnis Luby. We're going to be doing the commentary for the bike race. McGinnis, what goes through the cyclist's mind right at the start?
At the start, actually, I couldn't even tell you what I was thinking. I was just waiting for the whistle to blow. And he actually blew the whistle a lot earlier than, like he just blew the whistle. So we're off. We're going.
The pace this year, how quick or different was it from previous years?
Well, right now I'm just taking off and going to the front because Raymond went to the front and I assumed he was going to like pick up the speed. So I said, okay, this is good. Looks like we're going to get busy, but they didn't. So I initiated things and just went to the front and got busy. And Damien rode my wheel with me and, just to get things started.
Did you guys talk about any sort of strategy? I know you guys are teammates. Any sort of strategy about this race?
It was more of like a Three Musketeers type strategy. Whoever got in the position that I did, we do our best to help them stay away.
Stevie Sterrett and Tyler Butterfield broke away from the rest of you guys. What happened? Why'd you guys let him take that sort of lead at that point?
Well, Stevie went at a good place. He went at the top of Scour Hill where it just laxed off a little bit. And then I was sort of like recovering from the attack I had just done. And so you sort of can't see it right now, but I'm just taking the initiative and trying to cross the gap. And I eventually did cross the gap.
Any sort of difference with the corner there to make for the riders?
No, we guys flew through the corner. We went through the corner pretty quick, actually. Right there, Stevie and Tyler working real well together, and I'm pretty much in what you would call no man's land. No draft, out there working hard, while a lot of guys in the pack are back there feeling out. While the three of us out there busting the gut.
What were you thinking once you were able to bridge the gap and catch up to those two?
Well, I wanted to get to Stevie and Tyler, and so when we get over the hill, it's like, put the hammer down and try to go away. And we got up to like just over 40, maybe 45 miles per hour, just trying to get away. But as you see, Jeff got on front. He had been sitting back from the start and got on the front and just put the hammer down and just shut it down.
We're going to take a look at some of the other riders here coming through.
Richard Mason. He's a new rider, I don't know his name. There's a couple of juniors. There's Chris Bennett. There's a novice rider, new rider. It's a lot of enthusiasm. I think he's going to do good in the future.
Maury Orchard, one of the top triathletes on the island.
Yeah, she's looking quite strong, actually, coming through there.
Heather Brand, another athlete more known for her triathlon ability.
Yep. And here's some more of the junior guys, working well together, getting that pace line. And these youngsters are also trying to get the pace line working by the looks of it.
Adam Petty, Matthew Herring, and Jeffrey Smith in that group. Okay, Greg makes a move and he's out front.
Well, yeah, it sort of like settled down for a minute. So Greg took his first big attack and went to the front, to make sure that the race stayed honest.
Yeah, he was out front for quite a long time.
Yeah, for about maybe a mile or two. And then Kevin Topper here, it's like everybody took the turn just to make sure that the pace stayed honest. Kevin Topper went to the front and, put the pace up a little bit.
The Harbor Road was repaved this year. Did it make any difference for you guys?
Yeah, definitely made a lot of difference. Peter Ackles was there at the front helping. Now Kent's at the front taking his turn. He's been in the pack the whole time, so he's coming out with fresh legs and taking a really, really strong pull. And every time guys like him come and take a pull, you can really feel it because their pulls are really hard, really fast because they're fresh coming out of the back. And Stevie Sterrett went to the front, took a turn, and right after Stevie got off the front, Jeff just went to the front because it was on the downhill, like this, like a real fast part in the course. Jeff had been sitting in for a little while. He took one good pull, but this was another good pull. I mean, you just felt everything from it because you had to use everything to get back to him because he just like put everything in it.
And you guys are going to make sure that he didn't get away this year.
For sure. And then right after Jeff, Greg went to the front and counted, which is what a race of this distance is supposed to be like. Just guys going off the front hard, and just, just really, making sure the race is fast and difficult.
Greg had to slow down there a bit, right on top of the wheels of the car, who couldn't go any faster.
Yeah.
As you watch it, there's another, right here, you see Greg go to the left of the screen. Right on top of the wheels.
He's actually trying to get past the car, yeah. But it's hard, and like the other thing is like the cornering, the way the guys corner. From viewing the tape before this came up, Greg actually comes in really, really close to the wall, and he catches a pedal, which causes a chain reaction. I know it's pretty far back, but he's being really aggressive and trying to catch, and he takes out two other riders.
Okay, now you use this to your advantage, and how?
Because it split up. It went into a long line, and everyone had to chase back Greg and Stevie. And when they caught Greg and Stevie, they set up, and they actually was looking around, and you could sense that guys were settling in. It's like, okay, it's going to be a sprint. So I just went bam and just attacked just to see what would happen. If I would have gotten caught here, I pretty much would have been finished because I used everything to, get away and stay away.
You could see right there in that last shot that you had almost the whole lead of Queen Street. So what was going through your mind? Do you think you had the race won at that point?
I was like, man, this is unbelievable. I can't believe that I won it by that much. I actually had gotten away. The lead was, the gap had grown that quickly in that short amount of space.
Now who do we have coming in here second and third?
We have Dana Henry followed by Mike Lee. He actually played a sort of a role in helping me to get away because once I attacked and Greg and Stevie and whatnot try to counter, instead of following, and helping the chase, they sort of like set up and instead of, helping out, which, causes the field to slow down and actually helps me to get away.
Rounding out the overall top 10, Yildiz Kwa, 4th, Wayman Butterfield, 5th, Kevin Topple, 6th, Greg Hopkins, 7th, Steve Sterrett, 8th, Joseph Richardson, 9th, and Peter Eccles, 10th. The veterans winner was Joseph Robinson. 2nd was Peter Eccles. 3rd, Paul Medeiros. The women's title went to Melanie Claude. Heather Brand was 2nd. Lori Orchard, 3rd. Juniors, 15 to 16 years old. Jonathan Herring was the winner. Nuri Latham, 2nd. Tyler Butterfield, 3rd. Juniors, 13 to 14. Brian Steinoff, 1st. Nick Taylor, 2nd. Chris Conway, 3rd. And juniors, 11 to 12. Adam Petty, Matthew Herring, and Jeffrey Smith.
Did the weather affect you any?
The weather didn't affect any at all. The weather was absolutely perfect. It was unbelievable. Like I said earlier, when I got up, I looked out, I said it's dry. So I put on my, tires for dry roads. And if we would have got up the street and it started raining, I would have been in trouble because I'd have to ride a lot more cautiously and I wouldn't have been able to be as aggressive as I was.
Now, the race this year had a slight variation, of course, around Somerset Bridge. How did you handle that one?
It didn't slow it up at all. I knew it was going to be fast because the way the corner was, that the corner was like super wide. If the corner was narrow or something, then there would have been a problem. But the corner was super wide, and guys just pretty much made a straight line, made the straightest line, and just kept going straight through, like nonstop, pretty much.
Now, you took the lead somewhere in Paget, I believe, around the lane, somewhere in that area. Was that a conscious decision to take it then, or is this part of your strategy?
Actually, it's a classic move. Like most of the guys watch the European race tapes that we guys get, and it's a classic move what guys do when the brake gets caught. You kind of the attack because everybody sits up. It's like, okay, we caught the brake, what's going to happen next? And I knew everybody was doing that, so I just went bam. And when I went bam, the gap opened. I just couldn't believe it opened so quick and it kept opening. And I was like, these guys are going to give it, well, not give it to me, but I just couldn't believe that it just kept opening. I was like, and I got to the top of the hill and I was like, man, it's over. I couldn't believe it. So
at the top of Sid Avenue, you figured you had it won, eh?
Yeah, I pretty much knew I had it won because when I was at the corner, they were just coming around the corner by Ice Queen, on Queen Street. Queen Street? Yeah, Queen.
Blocks away.
Yeah, so I'm like, I could have probably walked down the hill. So they were that far away.
The race was very good. I mean, first of all, I was very pleased about the conditions. We didn't know what to expect based on what the weather report was saying. But, you know, I was a little disappointed. I wanted to kind of finish with the front pack, but they went out with such an incredible speed. It was very difficult for me to do that. So I stuck with them as long as I could. And then I had to, you know, try to find some people along the way to try to bring me home, which I managed to do.
Tell me, how long will you continue racing? That's a loaded question, as you probably can gather.
Well, I mean, in a few more weeks, it's going to be the Road National Cycling Championships as well as the Time Trial Championships, and I would like to do that. And then probably after that, I'd probably ease up for a little bit until after I have my little one.
We love Bermuda Day because it gives us the full opportunity to express ourselves through movement and embrace our culture.
This is it. The early front runners are setting the pace. Tracy Wright, number 4, up front early. Run You Can, wearing number 12. 285, Larry. Who's that?
Kevin House, a friend of Myra's. Myra, who is he?
It's a Canadian that's new to the island. David House is relatively new. He did run a race, placed very well. He's known to do around a 1:12 marathon, half marathon. The deciding factor is going to be the humidity.
Well, there we have it. David House is legitimate. He's up front with the big boys. Brett Forderson running to the inside. It's early. The pace, everybody just starting to settle into position. Larry, how's it looking?
5-minute pace. See Kevin House on the inside of Tracy Wright. These two dueled over the Maple Leaf 10K. And don't forget, Tracy Wright, the 1990 champion.
There's Brett Forderson. To the inside, the reddish colored hair is Raymond Blanchette. Ran out a little fast last year. Has not learned his lesson. He's going out in 1998 again.
May pay the price in the end. But look at Brett Ferguson in his form. You can see he's serious. He's concentrating. Him and Kevin Tucker, the year he won it, they dueled for 11.5 miles. Brett prevailing in the end. Sheldon Thompson, the speedster over 800 meters.
He calls himself an 800-meter specialist, but these are the specialists when it comes to the half marathon. Tracy Wright, sporting the Sports R Us singlet, wearing number 4. He's being challenged right now by David House, and they're rolling along.
They are. Probably 3/4 into a mile now. Kevin House and Tracy, as I said, they competed in the Maple Leaf 10K recently. So Tracy knows a little bit about this guy.
Now, conditions today somewhat difficult. Talk about difficult. This is a man that's giving those guys a challenge. He's going to make it tough up front. This is Jay Donovan wearing number 2.
One of the pre-race favorites, Mike. One of the pre-race favorites. Looks a bit comfortable at this stage wearing the red and white. And look at Mike Watson wearing the green. RoboCop, Steve Donnelly right behind him on his heels.
This is the guys that are chasing the leaders. Mike Watson, a former champion, 4-time champion, incidentally. Steve Donnelly, they call him RoboCop. Brett Fordson right here, number 5. To the center is Kevin Tucker. And Raymond Blanchette still hanging around. But all the action's up front. Tracy Wright, number 4. 285, David House.
Yep, Tracy putting the helmet on, looking very comfortable. You can see he's getting his body back in shape, training under the national coach Jerry Swan this year, doing a lot of speed work up on the track there. And you see Kevin House right behind, and now you see Jay Donovan in sight.
Jay Donovan has moved up at the front 2. He gave them a little of a lead early. Decided to stay off the pace, and now he's going to assist. This is going to make a difference. Jay has the speed background. He's quite a player.
He is. His strength certainly over the shorter distances. Now he's has to prove himself over the longer distances.
We go down to Myra Braham. You saw earlier, Myra, how the cyclists negotiate this corner. What are the runners doing differently?
Well, I think the main thing that you'll notice here is if you took a look at Jay Donawa, you'll see how close he is to the center line. The runners at this point in time cannot cross over that line, which puts a bit of a challenge as far as positioning themselves and getting the lead advantage without wasting times on the corners.
Well, you unfortunately ran this race last year and not this year, so you didn't have to go over this tricky part of the course. We look at tricks. It's Mike Watson, the craftiest of them all, being chased here by Sheldon Thompson, Jamal Hart, Run You Can, Brett Fortson, Steve Donnelly, Raymond Blanchett. He's falling back. And this is Chris Martin, number 419, former soccer star with Dandytown Hornets. The guy's got some talent, Larry.
He does. And there's Colin Swan, Harry Patchett, Manuel Lopes, Vernon Tankett, to name a few.
Chris Eaton to the center, number 40. Larry Richardson, Doc Mendes, Frankie Rodriguez.
Yeah, these guys are also up amongst them.
Larry Simons, Leon Bascom, Ed Harris, Anton Dujovic, who swims every day. We're number 73.
Jeffrey Blee.
Jeffrey Blee's a big hitter there, but big hitter. This is Jim Butterfield, one of the greatest triathletes of all time, and Philip Allboy hanging right with him.
He is. Now I heard another pack starting to string out.
Kevin Santucci, he's put in some work, but put in work. Ahmed Alaman, he's run both Boston and New York marathons. And Ernest Dunphy, also a marathoner. Mike Wally, Martin Neron.
Yep, they're all coming through now. And now among some other women, Luke Laurentier, Trevor Lindsay.
We've got Maria Conroy Hayden leading just ahead of Jane Christie, both very strong and talented, experienced runners. Lynn Patchett, one of the pre-race favorites, holding her own. We had expected Lynn to come out a little bit fast. She's running a smart race. Anna Etherly, another strong runner.
There's Miguel Butterfield, Adrian Robson.
These guys are chasing the ladies. Now, the ladies run steady. There's Derek Ming. He talk about rock steady. Derek Ming's always there.
And so is Glenn Wilkes, her stylist. Guy Kelly, Trevor Todd, Eddie Benjamin.
Wyman Lindsay coming up there in the background. What's the pace looking like right now, Larry?
These runners are running around 7.5 minute pace. Earl Godfrey's former cyclist.
Jay Hubert, number 51. David Doyle, number 171. But the gentleman back there that will be the story for years and years to come, wearing the orange singlet, number 396, Ed the Great Sherlock. And here's Allison Cameron, number 327.
Stuart Crockle, policeman.
Oliver Darrow, number 71. Sid Howard, who comes down to our shores every year, the great Sid Howard.
Wayne Deal on the inside.
In the back there we see Renan Pedro and Kim Mason.
Kim Mason's been a very strong marathon runner this year. Rianne Pedro's been back from an injury. It'll be great to see how she runs this race. In the back, we can see Rosa Picota run some really strong races this year. Very smart, tactical runner from the women's end. I think you'll see her moving up through the crowd quite easily.
And this is Newton Edcock fixing his shades there in preparation for the heat and sun today. Just off the screen, number 98, Burton Bruce. We call him Kichi. Number 115 is Tony Trutt. Terry Wine, number 27. A host of runners coming along here. Stretch, number 308. We call him Stretch in the streets.
Lionel Bartley.
A bunch of guys. Mike Rickards, I see him there in the background.
Kevin Grant, Patrick Keynes, Glennis Benjamin.
Glennis Benjamin, she's been around doing this race for a while. 106 is Glenn Williams. Used to be a great one.
Yeah, these runners are now averaging, say, around 8 minutes per mile pace. These are runners who have just started and are set out to finish. There's Carl Glassford, Ruben the Tire Man Mallory.
Stephen Petty. He's got some youngsters coming along, but he's still doing his bit for this race. Leighton Otterbridge, number 108.
Roger Lambert. You see now the karate team coming through. Winton Woodley, Zena Jones.
Well, Bob Oliver is off the back of this pack, and Bob Oliver is running for the 26th consecutive year, May 24th, as is his wife running for the 21st time. So Olivers have been out there for a while.
You see Rosemary Jones, one of our Boston Marathon runners. Hillary Evans looking strong just ahead of her. Got a few more women that are coming through here in a nice big pack. Sandra Simons is in the yellow shirt, followed very closely by Hataya De Silva and Michael Payne, number 299, a former track star for Bermuda. We've got another group of runners that are probably running about an 8:30 pace through here. Larry?
Cleveland Mabry, Kevin Walls, to name a few. You see these, Mitch Oliver, as you had mentioned earlier, coming through there now. The object of these runners, who are running around 8 to 9 minutes per mile pace, is to start in Somerset and finish at Bernard Park in Pembroke.
We've got Greg Bernius, the chiropractor, number 386. We've got Carolyn Conway. And then we've got our youngest runner coming through here, assisted by a gentleman, and Peggy Cooper, very strong runner. Comes from a good running family.
There is Maureen Ryan, physiotherapist, coming through. Seen her doing a lot of training along North Shore, lunchtimes, etc.
The youngster wearing the singlet there is Tiffany Atherley, someone to watch in the future, and one we've been watching for a while. To the left of the screen over there is Edwina Arash, and there's Marshall Minus wearing number 356.
No longer the highwayman, the former highwayman.
Soccer star Anthony Toe Wilson is approaching. These guys put in some work, and he's wearing number 383 today, carrying his water bottle. Smart move.
Indeed, a smart move. You want to continue to have fluids in you to run the deal, Department of Management Services.
Dr. George Shaw, number 307 in the yellow shorts.
And now we're back up to the front. And back up to the front, there's Jay Donovan. We move closely in a close-up shot of Jay Donovan. Let's talk about him.
Well, Jay seems to be very relaxed today, as is Tracy Wright, and David House very focused. So you talk about a study and contrast. Each of these gentlemen sporting a somewhat different look, but their one objective is to win this race.
Not used to seeing Tracy in the goggles, and not used to seeing, here's Mark Perry.
Mark Perry wearing number 300 today. Now, Mark Perry had a fantastic run back a while when he was second, running 1 hour and 12, but he's had some injury problems, Larry.
He had a couple of operations on his knee, and that second place was back in 1993 when Kevin Smith actually won it, when he established a new record of just under 1 hour 11 minutes. But Mark Perry has come a long ways back. He said he's just excited just to be in the race.
Well, Mark beat me in high school. I'll never forget it. 1 year in high school, he beat me in the 1500. If I would have known then what I know now, but I know a lot about this fella. This is Jay Donovan, a sensational track runner. This was the one that they figured Jay would win. Kevin wasn't coming to the line, and Jay had a fantastic race back in November. He had all the tools. He had the speed. He had the strength, and he had the will to win.
He did. You look at Jay here, you can see that he's looking like he's not sure whether he's going to run fast or what. He's just got a relaxed look on his face. You can see now the camera on his footwear, analyzing his footsteps, his stride.
Jay, a very light and efficient runner. Again, we cannot overemphasize the fact that he comes from a track background. Now, the track speed that he possessed would be all needed to put these guys away. He needed track speed to beat Brett Forgerson. He also needed the speed to put away a guy like Mike Watson. Mike Watson has won this race 4 times. You cannot leave this guy out. He's always a mystery. He keeps everybody in suspense, Larry.
He does. A late entry as normal. Mike Watson in the race just to enjoy the day, see what he can do. You know, he ran an hour and 1 minute 59 seconds for 800 meters recently overseas. But this is a speedster right here.
This is Cornell Robinson, the University of Texas athlete. Just got home. Wasn't home in time to get a number. Arrived only moments before. But you talk about arriving moments before. You always want to have this guy on the scene because he's the policeman. And this guy, well, he's always dangerous. This is Tracy Wright.
Yep, 1990 champion. Can't take anything away from a former champion that's in the race. And Tracy has run this race in the previous years, and so he's just been getting himself back to fully fit.
Very focused individual, Tracy Wright. 1990 was the year. He was the champion. Came from a cycling background, Larry. You remember those days?
I do. But I don't know much about Kevin House other than, as Myra said, he's run a 1:12 recently.
David House is looking very comfortable. I'm actually quite surprised that the heat hasn't started taking its toll on him. He barely looks like he's even sweating at this point in time. Brett Ferguson's just streaming down the hill right now. Just off to the side, you've got
Sheldon Thompson, the track star, calls himself an 800-meter specialist. And then there's Run You Can in the yellow singlet. Always a dangerous runner, but you can never count out Jamal Hart.
No, and no, you can't. Neither can you count out Brett Ferguson or Kevin Tucker, the triathlon, or Sheldon Thompson, the speedster over 800 meters. Renault Hetz can has run this race in an hour 14:55. And up front now.
And Jay Donovan had a full crowd support through here. He was ahead where you couldn't even see Tracy Wright in the crowd behind him. Jay had a big decision to make here. He wasn't looking back, and I don't think he knew how close or how far Tracy was to him. The decision right now was for Jay whether or not to open up the lead or to have Tracy Wright run with him through the race. What do you think he's going to do, Larry?
Well, at this point, there's no need to panic. Just keep that rhythm, keep that pace going. He's got a lot of fan support. A lot of people want to see Jay win. Kevin is not in the race this year. Therefore, it's Jay's race to win. Tracy Wright, a former champion, but this is Jay's year to win. We shall see what he's going to do.
sponsored by Lego TV. The Bermuda House on the Float, we have Andrea, Olivia, and Emma from the show Lego Friends. On the float, they have a Bermuda moongate. You will see Bermuda lilies, Bermuda annas, and Bermuda tree frogs.
The third year running of inline skating. We have a look at this. Larry, it's an interesting event.
One of the KSE brothers going through. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Defending champion this year, Elmo Warren, back competing fresh off of his honeymoon.
Chasing Vincent Seaman, a regular on the rollerblades or inline skating, the politically correct term. Quite a crew here. I think this event is going to grow in years to come.
It will. All these participants need now is an avenue for training, for doing endurance work. We see another competitor here just taking it easy. Look like her goal is to start and finish.
Great balance she has there on the inline skates. Myra, what can you tell us about this lady?
I don't know if they're giving prizes for first place, but this gal would certainly win it for most innovative costume. I think she's going to lead us right through to the parade of today.
Well, the parade today has already started. It's the parade of youth. These are the gentlemen of the future and the ladies. Sensational youngsters we have coming along. Richard Wolcott, Mark Morrison. These guys, Larry, they're going to set the stage and tone for future years to come.
And they will. No doubt. And we see here, this is the second year running for this event. They started down on Front Street at the Cenotaph. They're now coming up near Church Street. And these runners, they compete in the January Front Street Mile. You see Tyler Butterfield just heading the bend, finishing third last year, coming back again, competing this year.
Being chased there, just going around the corner, was Larry Marshall, the defending champion. As you mentioned, the Front Street Mile has brought many of the youth out over the years, and this race will grow. But talk about growth, this gentleman, he's young, but he's growing. He's already challenged the likes of Brett Forderson and Tracy Wright over the longer distances, and now with the youth racing against him, he's dominating. This is Tyler Butterfield. And this youngster here, well, he's just finishing the race, as is some others. They're all happy to finish, but they'll be running the big race one day.
Yeah, you can see they're glad to be a part of the May 24th, the Heritage Day, which means so much to many.
And the young lady right here is Sade with her. She wins the girls division.
Other competitors just coming through, finishing.
We move now to the race that everyone was waiting for. 1998. It's May 24th. They're on the way. Hey, there's Lynn Patchett.
Yeah, it's exciting to see Lynn Patchett is actually following at this point behind the leader, Maria Conroy Hayden, closely followed by Jane Christie, almost side by side. Anna Ederle is getting a nice pace workout right here, carrying her own just probably about 30 seconds behind the main leaders.
Well, Anna looked very comfortable, and she was assisted here by Miguel Butterfield, husband of Penelope Butterfield, so he's giving advice to everyone. But again, there's Lynn Patchett. And Larry, how does her form look?
Lynn is basically a triathlon athlete. You see she's very muscular, she's very strong, and she does very well in the triathlon. Right next to her is Chris De La Chazio, or what's that name?
He's got an unusual name, no doubt. We look here at some names that you should be able to pronounce. Maria Conroy Hayden. Hey, there's Jane Christie.
It's really interesting to watch Maria Conroy Hayden's form. She's very good at taking water at the water stops. Very important to this type of race. You watch some of the other female runners will actually be carrying an extra mechanism for carrying water. Steve, you probably know a little bit about that and the history behind it.
Well, the new feature this year is the Camelback kids. They're the ones who will be carrying the water in the containers on the back. But as we look here, Maria Conroy Hayden, a former champion in her own right. Lynn Patchett yet to win this race, but in 1983, Jane Christie was the winner. Here it is, 15 years later, she's making a challenge again.
That's what you call that. You call that longevity. Jane has kept herself in tremendous shape over the years. I had an opportunity to beat her about 7 years ago of a 10K distance. I was unsuccessful, and here she is still competing at a high level. There's Walter Harris just on the inside.
What you'll notice about Jane Christie's form is that she's incredibly fast on the downhill. In fact, I think she's unbeatable. You'll probably see on a hill like this, she'll actually close the pace on Maria Conroy Hayden. In fact, she's trying to pass her right now. When you get to an uphill, Jane tends to slow down a little bit, conserving her energy, and a stronger runner like Lynn Patchett is most likely to gain in those areas.
But we see some appreciation being shown here by a young runner and who may set the stage in future years to come. Interesting there as we critiqued both Maria and Jane, and that's so important as this course. Well, importance, here's Gary Buster Wilkinson, one of the greatest runners of all times. He used to hold the 800-meter record at one time. Buster was assisting here at today's race, but at one time, Buster Wilkinson could push the pace himself. And here he is. This is back in the 70s, Larry. I don't think Nike was the major feature in running wear.
Not at that time. Runners here ran with whatever they had on. You can see Cal being a four-time champion himself, and you can see where they're heading. They're heading the opposite direction back then.
What a ways we've come. Look at the gear now. We've moved on. Things have improved. The pace has improved. Lots of new training methods, but those guys, they were the forerunners for this race. They set the stage. They allow people like Jay Donovan, who's now we look at. These guys are following in the footsteps, literally, of those great ones like Gary Buster Wilkinson.
They are. Now, Jay, as a pre-race favorite this year, looking back to see, you can see Tracy in the distance. Tracy starting to close ground back on Jay there. You're looking at about 5 miles into the race. Nice scenic shot there of Julius Bay area. And here's Jay looking comfortable. Doesn't look like he's worried too much at this point, taking some water.
Let's critique the usage of water on Jay Donovan's behalf.
I actually didn't see Jay taking that much water during the course. I really noticed, again, he's dropping the bottle. He's not pouring it over his head, which was a real trick that Tracy Wright had been practicing throughout the whole scenario that's been going on at each water stop. Tracy's been taking in a lot of fluids, and that can come into play probably around 7 or 8 miles into the race when we see the runners really start to struggle due to the heat and the humidity in the day.
Well, Larry, I think you told me that at one time you had some difficulty with this race with regard to the heat and humidity.
Every time I run it, I've always suffered afterwards. But now, looking back at the race, you see Tracy now making a move on Jay, making a move, catching him up, coming right up behind him now.
What's the strategy here for Tracy as he moves in on Jay?
A defending champion. Now there's no distance to make up. Now he's running side by side with Jay. Maybe he may catch Jay on the hill here, but we'll see.
Now, in Jay's case, Tracy has now moved in on him. He was running alone previously. Should he attempt to get away at this stage?
I don't think so. They're approaching 6 miles. You see Jay's made just a slight move. He's dropped Tracy just a little bit. Tracy's falling back. Will Jay make a move and leave Tracy at this point?
Well, that's a question that only Jay and Tracy could answer. Lots of strategies coming into play here. Do you surge? Do you hold back? Now Tracy's moved back in. The word in the street had it that Tracy wasn't as strong on hills as Jay was, but he was very dangerous on the downhills and flats. And that's all been shown right here as we look now at Tracy moving up on the outside of Jay.
Right alongside. Now he's just going in front of Jay. Will Jay counter? Tracy's looking very comfortable. His arms swing, his legs stride, his face, he looks determined, taking some water, pouring it over his head. Where's Jay? Jay's not in the picture right now. Has he fallen back?
I think there's a classic move that Steve, you were mentioning earlier. A trained runner, when they're in a race position, will almost force their opponent to pass by a water stop if they're in the lead. Tracy decisively made a move just before the water stop, took some water on his own, and almost literally forced Jay to make a decision whether to stop, slow down, and grab the water or chase after Tracy. I think he's lost a little bit of ground here, and Tracy's really turned on the steam here. He's got a downhill stretch. He's got fan support, opening him up. Interesting to see if Jay bites into the lead or waits to catch him on a hill.
And we can see now the police bike right alongside of Tracy. The gap now open up 20 meters. He's coming across the Esso gas station, going faster and faster. Jay doesn't appear to be countering that move. The lead looks like about 15, 20 meters here. Just after they passed the former Flavors discotheque, you see the fans clapping.
Well, you just dated yourself there, Larry, because I think some folks may not have known that, but thanks for that historical perspective. Tracy Wright, now opening the gap on Jay Donovan. Now, coaches and former athletes will speak of gaps opening, and the athlete that's following must try to keep the gap at the same distance, not allow it to open up too much. If you can maintain contact, if Tracy was to struggle here, then Jay would have a chance. But Tracy's objective here was to establish the lead and establish a large one, get away from Jay, and then make Jay come catch him.
Well, we're certainly going to tell whether that move he made, whether he'll pay the price, but you can see the lead is still about 20 meters. He's still holding on, and they're just coming up to the Burns House Hill area.
So Burns House Hill is a hill that many speak of. It's one of the biggest challenges on this course. Myra, you've run this course. Tell us about Burns House Hill.
Burnhouse Hill is one of those surprise hills that comes up on you. You don't have time to really judge yourself and go up the corner. You've got to turn on the speed early on, take a deep breath just before the hill on the way down and really push it up. You can see here that Jay's a hill runner. Tracy struggles a bit on the hills. We're really going to see whether or not Jay can make his move here.
What I love about Bermuda Day is that everybody's like warm and giving and generous, you know, all the families kind of intermingling with each other. We definitely need to kind of implement that in everyday life. And it's just a beautiful reminder. That's why I love Bermuda Day.
Just forget the crowd. You and I, it's only us right now. Look up flowing and no signs of slowing. Grab a partner to enjoy the show and groove the night away and just.
And here we see Tony Prentice, Devin Brangman, Stanley Swan, Anna Adderley, former champion back in 1996, coming back after having two babies, back running this race again and looking comfortable at this point.
Efficient runner in Anna Adderley.
Adrian Robson, Derek Ming.
Allison Cameron. Allison ran a 1:51 time last year. Vast improvement over this year's season. Lynn Patchett, again, we're going with a very strong group, and we're probably going to see Maria Conroy Hayden right in the center view there. Jane Christie is just about maybe 30 feet ahead of the two girls. She's really doing a nice run up Waterlot, which is a tough hill to maintain. Probably going to the side now, grabbing a bit of water. Very well hydration during the race for Jane Christie.
Larry Richardson following there behind her. Jane drinking water going uphill. Martin Niren just off the back there. Maria and Lynn seem to be closing on Jane, though.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Jane is not known for her strength up the hills, but she is very consistent. What we'll see is the downhill experience with Jane, and definitely a consistency and an efficiency. You'll notice that her feet don't come very far off the ground. Maria Conroy Hayden looks like she's making a move here.
Just behind them, John Brunson running for charity, running for the Bermuda Gymnastics Association. Right now, as they turn to go up Burnt House, Martin Niren and Jane Christie running side by side. Martin's a pretty good runner there, Larry.
He is. That's a lot of training. Now, Jane just breaking away from Martin. You can see, and Anna Adderley, not Anna, Maria Conroy Hayden, Lynn Patchett just in the back. Now we're on Harbor Road.
I think Jane Christie is probably thinking at this point in time that she's been able to lead the group this far. Her thoughts right now are probably, if I can carry it at this speed and on the downhill, I can really open up the gap and start to carry it home.
And that she does. She's now just a runner behind Larry Richardson, trailing Jane now. You can just see in the background the other women in contention, but they're still about 30 yards back.
You can notice that Lynn and Maria are really feeding off each other here. It's a lot easier for two runners to bring down the lead runner than work on your own.
Well, that would be the case here in the situation of the men. Someone needs to work with someone else to go after Tracy Wright. Tracy Wright has established a large lead now. Well, we talk about working together. Jamal Hart is using David House. Now, if they can work together, they can pull back maybe Jay Donovan. I don't know if they can catch Tracy Wright.
Both runners having a good session today. Now, talking about a good session, here's Kevin Tucker, Brett Ferguson. Remember that duel in 1994? They ran the first 11.5 miles together before Brett prevailed in the end. They're running comfortable. Kevin Tucker, triathlete, said he was strong, not fast.
A solo effort here being applied by Jay Donovan, however. He's running in no man's land. He's got runners behind him and Tracy in front. No one to work with him. And now he has to make a decision. Do I go after Tracy here as we look at this lovely shot? Boating, pleasure craft on the side there of Jay Donovan. But you know what, folks? Jay is not enjoying this day for the pleasure craft.
But you can see Tracy Wright certainly is now pumping his arms. He's moved to the lead. We can look in the back. Jay not quite in sight there. The fans are appreciative of his efforts. They're clapping him on. This gives him a lot of endurance and strength.
The working together of Kevin Tucker and Brett Forderson cannot be overstated, and Mike Watson in pursuit. And here's the ladies working together. Maria Conroy runs to the inside, Lynn Patchett on the outside. Lynn did not do what many thought she would do.
I think we all expected Lynn Patchett to really take a fast pace out early. I think you can see from here she's feeding off of Maria Conroy Hayden's experience and really taking Jane Christie's lead. Time off, really looking strong. Looks like Lynn's tried to make her move here on Maria. We'll see whether or not Maria is going to go after Lynn's lead.
Well, Maria Conroy Hayden has made a move now on Lynn Patchett. Maria, the 1995 champion. She's very tough. She's very
contending with the heat, the humidity factor now, but the fans, they're playing a big part in keeping his continence going. You can see he's around a 10-mile marker here, and he's feeling and looking good at this point.
The year was 1990 that Tracy Wright ran into Hamilton. He was escorted by Mike Watson and Terrence Armstrong. Wright, he came from a cycling background, but on that day he prevailed.
He's less than 2 miles from the finish now. He knows he's not got far to go. Jay Donovan not incited at this point, so it's all Tracy. Now we can critique his form.
Well, we look now at Tracy Wright, the strong runner who possesses incredible strength when it comes to this distance of 13 miles. Very efficient. You look at how he lands. We're looking at the heels coming down first, then pushing off from the midfoot. And look at the arms. We cannot overemphasize the use of the arms.
Yeah, they certainly propel the legs to lift, the knees to lift high. You can see Tracy started with the goggles, but no longer is he wearing those goggles. He's just concentrating on holding off, staying within himself, and just trying to get to the finish first. Second-time champion.
Well, the biomechanics of Tracy Wright in evidence here, and we now look at Jane Christie. Now, she's a very efficient runner, and they call this style of running shuffling.
Yeah, this is more of a marathon technique. It really keeps the long-distance runners conserving their energy. Jane's talent in terms of her ability to shuffle down the hills and maintain the leg strength, probably accomplished by being in the gym, mixing her training up with cycling, swimming, and the road racing.
Look how relaxed her face looks, Larry. I think she was really enjoying the day, and if the muscles are relaxed, you can get a great performance.
Jane is a veteran. She's experienced. She's won this race many years ago, and now we can see it in slow motion. You can see the fans there. You see Jane just enjoying. You can see her focus. Just straight ahead. She wants to win this race again.
Well, we're going to let Jane take us home, and then we're going to go to natural sound, which will give us the absolute impression of that day. It'll capture the moment.
Limit today. I had to take a lot of water. Hill race. I just put a lot of water in my hair. Try to keep cool. I was a little worried. Probably about 9 miles into the race, I was a little worried because I felt a little fatigue coming in, and I didn't want to overdo it and burn out later on. Coming to Street Avenue, I was going to pick it up a little bit, but I felt a little twitch coming in the muscle, so I decided just to hold back some more right there. I wasn't looking at a time as yet. I was just merely just trying to finish and run a good race.
Tell me, when did you sort of feel confident that you had it all under control?
Not until I came into the Bernard's Park. The race is not over till you finish the line, come across the line. And like I said, I got twitch coming up Street Avenue, and I got a little worried there. And I tried to pick the pace up. So I settled back in and just worked my way back, and just hope that enough would happen from there until the finish.
Were you aware of how big a lead you had on Jay Donowa?
Somewhat. I looked back once or twice. I really didn't want to look back to me after 10 miles, 10.5 miles. I didn't really want to look back to there. I just concentrated on just going forward. And when I was coming up, I guess, to Street Avenue, I didn't see nobody, so I just said, well, the race is mine if I could hold on. I feel good. I had a good race. This is the first time I've ever finished second, so I guess that's a good result.
So looking forward, I guess you're looking for first place next year, eh?
Well, you can never tell in this race. I mean, I felt so tired the first 3 miles that fortunately after that my legs started to feel right, and I was managing to pull some places back. But all credit to Tracy, he ran a real tough race, gutsy race.
Sense, was this the way that you had seen it develop, or you just played your cards as they came?
Yeah, pretty much. I had a feeling Tracy would go out. I went out easy. I got to the first mile in like 5:18, and it felt too easy, but that's probably from all the track work that I've been doing. And basically when I caught them guys, I just went with it, and somewhere along the line I started to tire out, and my goal was to try to keep Tracy within 100 yards and see what happens in the latter stages, but it didn't happen. And then I got picked at the line by Brett. He came on strong, and just accept it. Yeah.
How does it feel to have another win under your belt?
It feels great. Magic. Really good.
You're obviously very perspiring quite a bit. How did the weather affect you?
Actually, the beginning of the day, I thought it was going to be really humid, and I thought with the sun coming out, it was going to be really hot. But in actual fact, I think when the sun came out, the humidity must have dropped because it felt really quite nice, and we had a bit of a breeze. So the weather conditions for me felt really good.
And you were pushed along the way by your good friend Maria. When did you feel you had it won?
Well, Maria said she was going to go easy today, and she was with me at 1 mile or just a bit ahead. And I just wanted to stay relaxed, and I got a bit ahead of her, and I thought, right, Jane, just go for it and just push from here to the finish and see what happens. If you die, you die. What have you got to lose? So I went, and it worked out well for me.
When did you know she would win it?
Well, she lost me on the curves on Harbour Road. She had a good 800 meters on me, and Jane was in great shape for this race today. It was her day. She trained hard, and she had a really good run.
And how did you feel with the weather conditions?
It was pretty warm. I was just trying to hang on by the skin of my teeth. I felt so tired that I didn't really notice.
Tell me, to bring up a rather dismal memory, did you have any particular feeling when you were running up King Street?
No, I didn't. I noticed the ambulance wasn't there anyway.
Well, 1998 had its champions on Heritage Day. And we start with the cycling race and the junior race for kids over 2 miles. Don Burgess, tell me what happened today.
Well, as a Fast and Furious race, Greg Hopkins at one point was pushing the pace vehicles right on top of it. But down at the end, it was McGinnis-Luby taking the championship, having enough legs. Shortly after that, Tyler Butterfield, who had just finished doing the cycling race and had fallen off his bike, got up, ran to the start line, and won the junior race. Second year it's happened. Tyler was able to take the championship this time around, Steve.
Oh, thanks, Don, for that synopsis there. We move now to Larry Dunlop. Now, Larry, you had first-hand coverage of what happened in the men's race. Take us through that, how it developed and how it finished.
Very interesting. Tracy Wright and Kevin House went out early in the race, but then Jay Donovan soon caught them up around Scar Hill, and it was a two-man race up until the 7-mile mark. And then Tracy put the hammer down, and from there on in over the hills, he was able to hold off and, in fact, increase the lead over Jay Donovan, winning handily by a minute. In fact, Jay ended up coming third, Brett Ferguson beating him at the finishing line.
We move now to Myra Braham in the ladies division. You're a former runner alongside these ladies. How did that take place today?
It's a really exciting race today. There was a strong team out there. I think Jane Christie looked solid the whole way. Maria Conroy Hayden held her own as we were expecting her to. And Lynn Patchett certainly held her speed in check and stuck in there the whole way. Ann Ederle was surprising to see her up front with expectedly a little bit less training than she had normally done. Allison Cameron came in with a good strong finish as well. So it was a really tight race for most of the way through. Maybe a 30-second gap at Barnes Corner, the same thing down at Crow Lane. So.
Well, there you hear it from our sports team. And we go one more time back to Don. Kevin Smith not in the field today, neither Karen Adams. Would those two have made a difference?
I most definitely think so. If you look at the times today, both Tracy's and Jane's, the winning times were roughly about the 25th best overall. Kevin and Karen being in the race would have pushed the pace a little bit more. I think we would have seen time significantly faster, and those two probably would have won the race if they would have been out there today.
Well, there you hear it from our sports team. Don Burgess, one of the best in the business. Larry Dunlop, probably the greatest statistician around. Myra Braham, she used to be a runner, now she's a commentator. And me, well, I'm Steve Burgess. And I was just out there hanging in with the group. We say so long from down here at the park, where everyone, they're still finishing.
We hope you have enjoyed the previous program produced by VSB Television.
These are traditional Gumbe masks. Bermuda Gumbe's dance is a mixture of African and Native Indian culture. Gumbes mean rhythm in African Bantu. The tradition of Gumbe dance has been passed on through generations. Gumbe dancers wear masks and costumes to hide their faces, as a long time ago, slaves who danced were not allowed to become Gumbes. The Gumbe dancers make up the Bermuda Day Parade and also are quite popular during the Christmas season.
Hello, Bermuda. 2020 continues to be a different and challenging year. Usually by now, spots to watch the runners in the parade have been selected and are being jealously guarded. Food is being cooked and outfits are being laid out in anticipation of the unofficial start of Bermuda's summer. 2020 is different. As a result of this COVID-19 pandemic, we have been doing so many things differently. And of course, Bermuda Day is no exception. Every year, like so many Bermudians, my family and I look forward to watching the parade and the runners and the chance to mingle with all of you on the sidewalks, enjoying the warm hospitality of so many people. This year, each of us will celebrate Bermuda Day from a distance, inside our homes, in our own yards, or with close friends, maintaining physical distance. I encourage each of us to be safe and remember the reason for the holiday, honoring our heritage, reflecting on our culture, and celebrating our people. This year, we have much to celebrate. We have seen a unity of spirit and a unity of purpose born out of our community's time of need. The way we have rallied during these last several weeks has made me proud of our island and our people. We have a rich history and diversity of ideas, faith, and people. Our differences have been laid aside, from mosques to churches, community clubs to luxury hotels, and we have pulled together and worked together. That is the true spirit we celebrate this Bermuda Day. Hospital and healthcare staff, regiment soldiers and firefighters, police officers, bus operators, grocery and retail store workers, and men and women in the public and private sectors have all shown us how invaluable their work has been during this time. Thank you to you all. On behalf of the government of Bermuda, I wish everyone a very happy Bermuda Day. Please have a safe and happy holiday.
This is CITV, the Government of Bermuda Television.
The following program was produced by former local broadcasting company, VSB Television. In the interest of Bermuda's history and culture and in recognition of Heritage Month, the Ministry of Community, Cultural Affairs and Sports and CITV proudly present this program in its original format.
Good morning. Start of the May 24th Road Race 2004. Conditions today, quite interesting. Perhaps 83 degrees, the temperature is expected to reach. Could be for runners, but the day always used to call it the May Derby. The names that we think of when we think of that race are very special. I'm Steve Burgess, your host of today's show, along with Larry Dunlop, Larry Legend. Larry, one of the greatest spectacles Bermuda's ever seen when it comes to sports, May 24th. How's it going to set up today in the men's race? All sorts of possibilities. Kevin Smith, the big man they call him, the defending champion, the man with the S on his chest. We could call him Superman if we want. Superman will be tested today.
He will be, actually. We know Kevin, the defending champion, 9-time winner, is looking to go for 6 straight in a row. He'll be challenged by Jay Donovan and also Terrence Armstrong. Jay, over a year, I think, has closed the gap a little bit. Of course, I always have to go with the defending champion. But I do feel that with Jay having put in more training, having done more strength work, we know this is a strength course. it could be very interesting. We know Terrence is the unknown. We don't know what he's been doing abroad. And therefore, I think that if Jay is to win or Terrence, is going to be a strategic and a tactical race where they're going to have to counter every move that Kevin makes.
But then we look to the women. Great names have run this race and won it in the past.
But I think the duo this year will be between Anna Adderley and Leanne Canuck. Of course, Anna, I have to give it her edge. She's over 40, but she runs like she's still in her 20s. And I've seen her out there training, doing her track training. She's out there doing her long runs. She's adopted. She's race fit. She's not here. So I look her to be the defending champion and to defend her title.
The women's race, quite exciting. And of course, despite those two categories being the battle in terms of the leaders, the masses, close to 500 runners come to the line. And what's interesting, last year and again this year, Larry and myself take on the challenge of running the race as well. So as commentators, we've now moved ourselves into the masses who choose to enjoy the day. It's a great spectacle. The cycling, of course, precedes this, but we are the runners that choose to enjoy the day for the memories of many in the past of May 24th Derby. I'm Steve Burgess, and we're going to go right to the cycling with all that action.
I'll sit down here too. How's that? That'll make it deal. Coming up, Nick.
Keep walking, guys. Keep walking.
Gang's over here. It's 2004. One person's missing. Glory, guys. Glory.
Glory.
Tribute there to Laurie Joseph, who made a name for himself as a high schooler, had a great future ahead of him in running. Always wanted to run this race. And those who want to run that race today, oh, it's the big names. Mark Oldboy, Cal Steed, Dale Butler, they're all there. This is it. This is the biggie. D. Tucker signals the go signal, and they're off. And it's Hilton Brown on the bike for escort. Cal Steed straight to the front. Cal Steed plays the game catch me if you can. He's setting the stage and tempo for those to come catch him. And all the big ones are here, all the big names. This race is the race. This is the race that everyone wants to run. In the streets, it's talked about for weeks on end. Are you coming down? In some cases, are you just going to run? And this is the one. And they're all here. Over 500 runners have shown up at the start line. And now it's the trek from Somerset to Hamilton. They call it the Marathon Derby. It's not a marathon, but it feels like it. It's only a half, but it feels like a marathon. There goes Ray Ming. Now, he comes from the Ming dynasty. Gladstone, Ted, and Ray, trained by their dad, Wesley. They've been around this race for years. Do not pass. That's the signal. Do not pass, and that's Kevin Smith's mantra. This guy has won the race 9 times. He's the 9-time champion, and he's daring anybody to come knock him off that mountain. And this is Jay Donovan chasing him with Terrence Armstrong to the inside. Terrence Armstrong lives in the U.S. He's a Bermudian, but he resides in the U.S. He's the mysterious one. No one knows what he does in training and what his racing is like. Rian Norde from South Africa. He has an identical twin, Avon. They're here on island. It's everybody, every man for themselves. This is Cal Steed. He's setting the tempo. He loves to lead. And he's dressed so well for the day. Look at that matching outfit. No, Kevin's going to match his outfit. Kevin's going to match his stride. And that's the end of the lead for Cal Steed. It's all over. Cal's had his day. He'll put an end to that. And now he comes off the backside here at Fort Scour. Coming down past Parapet, home of Stuart Mott. Family of Mott's juices. And this is Kevin Smith now coming over the bridge. Kevin setting the early tempo. He loves to lead. He loves to take the race out hard. This guy's going to drop some 5-minute miles soon. It's maybe sub 5, 4 something pace in the initial stages. And then they'll settle down.
This is Rian Norday. And behind him looks to be Andrew Wadman, who's a Masters runner. These are the early leaders, and here comes the pack proper. This is Ricky Souza with Brett Forgerson, Norbert Meyer, and I believe that's Jamie Brown on the inside. Wyman Minks, he has gone out with these guys today. This is some heavy action. Philip Cosentino, the school teacher. Sheldon Thompson chasing. Colin Swan is right behind Sheldon. Let's look at the top 10 finishers there. Those guys, those leaders, those guys are looking at top 10. Lamont Marshall, the youngster, is hanging on to Jay Donovan. Jay's going to take him for a ride. This is great because Lamont Marshall is a youngster in this situation here. And so he is learning. School is in. He'll learn so much from this race. Terrence Armstrong measuring the efforts of Kevin Smith up ahead. Now he's closing in. Now Terrence has decided, enough, Kevin. I cannot let you get too far ahead too soon. If Kevin moves ahead right now, it could take a long time for Terrence to pull back that lead. He really wants to measure Kevin early and not let him get too far, because as Kevin would establish a lead, it would be very hard for Terrence to sort of reel him in the later stages. So go with him now, counter his moves, see what Kevin has. We saw the early lead of Cal Steve. He measured his efforts, and he's being chased by Gary Rayner. This guy played soccer. I still feel he should have done track and field. I would have given him a scholarship to the United States colleges. Leon Bascom, the underwriter, with Anna Everly and Lynn Petchett running 1-2 in the women. I got this guy a scholarship. That's Quinell Robinson. Here comes Kim McMullen. This is Anton Dushevic, Mitchell DeShield, Manuel Lopes, Jamal Hart, Dion Wainwright, Andre Doc Manders. Oh, the action is hot up front. Sylvester Jean-Pierre, he's always in the mix, as is Luke Laurent, Martin Aaron, Jeff Blee. On the outside, I see Alistair McNish. On the outside is, in those Terminator shades, is Trevor Todd, Louis Musso. These two guys coming over the bridge now. Simon Turner on the inside, Simon Ashby. I see in the orange top there, Larry Richardson. Here comes Andy Cooper. This lady usually runs with no shoes. I'm not sure of her name. Doesn't have a number on. And then behind her is D. McMullen. Here comes Andra Simons. I see Mike Wally, the Flying Scot. With a nickname like that, you got to be fast. Victoria Fiddick. She's won this race before. I brought her down and escorted for the first time. She came down with me, ran 10K. She said, no more jogging. I'm going to run this race in future. This is Errol Cormack, one of the few locals to win the International Race Weekend Marathon. There goes Jonathan Kent. Barry King had a name for himself as a Carifta athlete. There goes Tim Shave, Peter Gracie, look like Lionel Bartley, Craig Aswood from West Pembroke School. Darren Doling is pushing a stroller. Can you believe it? Maria Conroy Hayden. Well, I sure put her through her paces on the track. Now, this is an inseparable two. This is Mike Osborne and Rosa Pacheco. They'll run the whole race together. What a match. They pace each other. Some smooth running up front now. I see Walter Harris. Chris Page, the attorney, with Otis Robinson behind him and Allison Harvey. There's a pretty good story there between Otis and Chris Page. What a battle. Look at Tim Goodyear. This is Stephen Dunkley. Yeah, no love lost there between Otis Robinson and Chris Page in their battles they used to have. I see Charlene Sheikh Souza, the personal trainer. Larry Legend, Larry Dunlop has gone out really quickly. He's pulled Penelope Butterfield with him. He's left me behind, that's for sure. Larry has gone out hard. I see Jim Butterfield, the Ironman, 7th place in the Ironman competition. What a historic feat. There's Sid Howard from the United States. is escorting me. Here comes Ian Coles. Looks like Bertha the trainer. You don't want to take a class with her. But I guess if you did take a class, you'd be ready for today because she'll get you ready. And that's Will Collison. He once done a half marathon in dress shoes, folks. Dress shoes, not running shoes. Craig Rothwell. I think that was Stephen Petty that just went past. Dr. David Soul in the orange. This guy once held the Bermuda record for 10 miles that lasted forever. Oh my gosh, this young lady got a late start and now she's kicking into gear. She might win this race. Here comes John McEwen. In the gray hair is Anthony Toe Wilson. There was a time when Dandytown had the youth explosion when they won everything. And Toe was marshalling the midfield. Chester Smith. You pump your fist when you see Chester. Here comes Glynis Benjamin on the inside. I see in the blue hat April Veazey and Lisa Van Roy. This is Laura Keys. And this guy's wearing a Nike top. He's sponsored by Nike on the day. Well done, young man. I'm an Adidas fan personally. I won't say no more there. All day I dream about sports. That's the acronym for Adidas. Leroy Curly Joe Wilson. Look like Karen Medeiros. Peggy Cooper. If you ever want to break 2 hours, follow Peggy to Hamilton. A lot of folks didn't listen to me through the years. They faltered. She would pass them later in town. Should have gone out with Peggy. Peggy always breaks 2 hours. Midge Oliver. Now, this lady's called to fame. She's run the most May 24th out of everyone. She's got the record. There's Mike Rickard looking good, Mike. Bob Oliver, you are not king of that household for the Olivers. Midge, she's run more May 24th than you. These folks are getting their rhythm, getting their cadence down as they head over Somerset Bridge on their way to Hamilton. 1 mile by 1 mile. Take your time. And Norbert Seymour, we always have a good banter and laugh. Patrick Henderson, talk about a banter. He always thinks he can beat me. Patrick, I don't know why you have those dreams. Looking smooth as they come through. Miguel Penelope is gone. This is Miguel Butterfield. Penelope, his wife, has taken off and gone to Hamilton. Well done to these runners. I see Cynthia Thomas approaching. Now, I went to school with her husband. They're both attorneys, but Sean Morris, her husband, his call to fame was the triple jump. If he had taken it seriously, Barbara Clements was Barbara Lang when I used to train her in the gym. Oh, the guy on the inside, the floppy hat, is Charlie Duffy. Alongside him is Joe Duffy, his son, but his call to fame, his daughter, Flora Duffy. Yeah, Charlie, that's your call to fame. You're the father of Flora. Carol Bassett just went by. That guy's walking. If you are walking at this stage of the race, you're in trouble. I had a guy walk up Fort Scarra Hill one time. And I said, you might as well take a cab to town because you're not going to make it. But these folks have paced themselves well. That is critical. Judgment of pace, not getting caught up in the excitement, the pressure of the crowd. Don't listen to them. They're telling you, go beat this person. Go, don't let that girl beat you. No, ignore them. George Jones coming across the bridge now, as is John Edwards. These guys are wise.
What I love about Bermuda Day is the overall vibe of togetherness and inclusiveness from the participants and the spectators at the Marathon Derby all the way through to the parade. It also marks the official start of summer. So that's what I love about Bermuda Day.
Forget the crowd. You and I are telling us right now. Liquor flowing and the signs of slowing. Grab a partner to enjoy the show and groove the night away.
return back to the action. This is the exciting day, May 24th. There's nothing like it. Of all the races that the island puts on, the sporting spectacles, this sits right up there with Cup Match. This is the one that everyone wants to see. This is the runner they come out to see, Kevin Smith. He's won this race 9 times. Kelvin Hensey had 4. Cal Bean was up there with multiple victories, but Kevin Smith, 9. He's up there with Sherlock on that great mountain of champions. Ed Sherlock was a great one. Kevin has done it with him because he's won it 5 times consecutively. Now, what will happen today? We have to look at the heat. The heat's a factor. We can look at fitness, but the heat and the start time has always been a discussion. Runners seem like they would prefer the race to start earlier. There's Brett Fordyson, the blue shorts, Norbert Meyer, and Jamie inside. This is Kevin Smith on the outside, and Terrence to the inside. We talked about the heat and the condition, but let's talk about the pace of these guys. It is relentless. They are going to run sometimes sub-5s and sometimes just over 5-minute miles. You have to condition and acclimate the body to that type of training. It's something that you do repeats of. You do repeat workouts on the track, on the trails, but it has to be at that tempo. Right now, this pace right now is favoring Terrence because he's able to cover Kevin's moves. Terrence Armstrong is a sub-4-minute miler. Kevin Smith had a great background in track and field. These guys can handle this, and they're going to throw blows and punches at each other until one falls. Look at this as we analyze their form and critique their strides. Terrence is watching Kevin's every move. He knows exactly what he wants to do. He's trained for this. This lady is trained for this. This is Lynn Patchett. Done some work with her. This is Anna Adley. She's also had some workouts on the track and has one. Look at Helen Bartley handing out water today. Helen's got a little bit of fitness background as well. Okay, now we got a real race going. Look at this. This is Ludwig Kahn, who decided he had an early start. He said, I want to see what these guys are made of. And he took the opportunity. That was sweet. Really enjoyed that entertainment. Now, here we go. This is probably one of the most serious hills coming up now outside Waterlot. And it's a time for a test. You're looking for a slight kink in the armor of your opposition. Now we now have someone pushing the wheelbarrow. Oh my God, it's Larry Sucky Simons. Sucky, this guy's always looking for a challenge. And he pushed the wheelbarrow. I'm not even sure what he had in it. I've never seen that. Okay, now we're going to turn the corner. We are coming to Burnt House Hill. For years, many have said the race starts at Burnt House. And I see someone in the distance. There's someone closing in on these two. These two have gone out early. For 6 miles they've led. There's been no company. I see Jay Donovan in the distance. He is closed in on these guys. There he is. Well, Terrence is now going to size up Kevin. This is the part of the course coming downhill now at 7 miles. This is a checkpoint. How's everybody feeling? That sign said slow. There's no slow motion here. Terrence keeps applying water. The heat has been a challenge for him in the past. Living in the U.S., he doesn't get the same heat and humidity, so he's prepared this time, and the appreciative crowd will help him along and help the runners. This is at Tamarind Vale. And ladies and gentlemen, we have the arrival of Jay Donovan. This is now a 3-man battle. This title has eluded Jay in the past, and he's always been hungry. The Auburn Tiger. We have this battle because I went to Georgia and he went to Auburn, but we share a passion for running. And this lady, look at the economy of Anna Adley. Gosh, she's so flexible and so efficient. There's no herky-jerky movement. This lady is so smooth, and this is brilliant. Lynn Patchett has taken the opportunity to have Manuel Lopes push her along. Manuel's got a lot of marathon experience. Here's Kim McMullen from a triathlon background. Triathletes do well on the day. Success. Larry Legend had left me at this stage. Larry's going way out in front. I'm now fixing my radio. I'm broadcasting, and Larry's ahead of me. I'm just trying to get a groove going. I'm there with Sid Howard. Sid Howard's going to carry me to Hamilton. This is a three-man battle. Terrence Armstrong runs to the inside. Kevin on the outside. Jay Donovan in the middle as they come around Harbor Road. Terrence sporting the long white socks. We talk about that thing because that's an efficient preparation he's done by employing those socks. Doctors felt they would increase circulation in patients as they recover from operations, and exercise physiologists feel the same thing can happen with athletes. And look at this here. We slow the pace down with the camera and critique. 3 track and field stars of the past. These guys have all come off the track. They are so efficient. You barely hear them when they're running. They're very efficient and light on their feet. Terrence just said something to Kevin. Oh. Okay. I was wondering if it was something malicious. I thought they were having a little banter, a little conflict there, but that was all friendly rivalry. And Jay Donovan is now going to take the lead as we come into East Broadway. This is where the crowd just goes bonkers. This is a significant move as Jay Donovan. Look at that crowd. They have all gathered. They've been there for hours waiting. And now we come into Hamilton. For years, the crowd has had simply one runner run away with this race. Now we have 3. 3 men going for the title. Cruise ship in the background. The stage is set. Who will play their cards first? Now, it's typical this race that on Front Street, it's usually the Front Street Mile, where here we are at high noon, and we have the runners coming into Hamilton, running as a threesome around the birdcage. And who will play their cards first? The knockout punch. You're studying now. Jay is wondering, what does Kevin have? Kevin's won this race before. Terrence. He's the mysterious one. He's the unknown factor over in the U.S. He's prepared for this. What's his strategy? They're best of friends. Both born, Jay and Terrence, born on October the 2nd. Stay tuned. The plot thickens.
I like Bermuda Day because everybody comes together. So you have your family and they get together and they have food and just enjoy family time together while watching the parade, of course. For the most part, that's what I like about Bermuda Day.
Don't be shy and just forget the crowd. You and I are telling us right now. Look up flowing and no signs of slowing.
You turn back to the action now with Anna Adley checking her watch at 10 miles. This is Lynn Patchett running second. She checks her watch. This is Kim McMullen, the third place lady. They're all looking to see where the other is and what to do. And this is the battle. The battle lines have been drawn. 3 runners, 3 friends. They all knew each other well. Jay and Terrence really knew each other. They go way back, studying in Camden High School. And Terrence has a plan now in the mountains of Cavendish. He has applied the pressure. This is a significant move. This could be the move of the race. Terrence has applied the pressure. He's going, but Jay comes right back. Jay had something for him. Best of friends normally, but what happens today? This is tough. This is where friendship goes out the window, and Terrence counters that move. There's a counterattack. There's a counterattack, and Jay is still hanging on. Kevin is going out of the picture. The 3-man battle now is down to 2. 2 gallant warriors now in the mountains of Cavendish. Just as we turn now onto Montpelier, the gap has opened a bit. Terrence has put down a little bit of pressure. He's the 1,500-meter record holder for the country. He has some wheels. And now we critique his cadence, his form, his stride. soft landing. Years and years on the track allows him to have developed that foundation. And he's now extending that lead as he comes downhill. Jay is still in contact. Best of friends. How tough is this? Your best friend and you battling it out for a title of May 24th champion. They put the 9-time champion away, and now he's outside the stadium. This is Terrence Armstrong. Many are looking at his legs and saying, what are the socks he has on? Why is he wearing long socks? Well, those are compression socks. He's bringing that new technology to Bermuda. He checks his watch. Not sure what pace he was expecting, but right now he's on pace to win this race. Final steps outside the stadium, the crowd there waiting for their favorite fan, and now they get to see the leader. This is Terrence Armstrong, and he turns now onto the grass. He's heading for victory. This is it. This is 2004. This is Terrence Armstrong seeking his first victory at May 24th. He's going to do it. Terrence Armstrong wins 2004 May 24th road race. Checks his watch. I hope he's pleased. His wife sure is. Marianne gives him a hug. She's also born on October the 2nd. And his mom right there. And his son, I bet you that's Nathan. He's there to share that sweetness of that victory. And this victory here, it's a bittersweet victory. Jay Donovan has been trying to beat Kevin Smith for years. He does it. He finally does it. And his best friend just nips him. So, bittersweet victory there for Jay. We go, wait. But he'll be back. Jay's always hungry. And this is Kevin Smith. Has 9 victories. He was seeking 10. He acknowledges the crowd that came out to support him on the day. Checks his watch. And he looks pleased. Lamont Marshall gets 4th place. The youngster, coached by his dad, Larry. Oh, he's pondering that thought. He says, I'm 4th. His days in the future. It's coming. Just a matter of time. Andrew Wadman, 5th place. Rian Naude, 6th. And Ricky Souza takes 7th place. Everybody's checking their watch. Make sure they have their official time on their watch. Well, look at this. Ed Armstrong, brother of Terrence Armstrong, who just won the race, is now escorting Anna Adley, the leading lady, and Mitchell DeShields is just ahead of them. And Mitchell says, I got to get away. I've got to get away from Anna. So Mitchell takes off. This is Anna Adley looking ever so efficient. That cadence, that rhythm, so smooth. Ed Armstrong, I have told him, he's my barber. I've told him numerous times, you can be top 10. He prefers to run a nice casual day. And there's Anna, the efficiency, the mechanics are all there. Biomechanically, she's very sound. No heavy landing of the feet. She shuffles along, economical pace. And Ed is carried out of the way. He's the perfect guide. Checking her watch, making sure that she's... Oh, Ed just swerves away from a bike there. Just outside the stadium. Final steps, Anna Adley carrying the pace. And here she now, the tempo just goes up. She turns it on. Oh, almost missed her marker. She takes the corner. Ed carries her right through to the finish line. He swings wide. Anna comes in. The champion for 2004 is Anna Adderley. She's happy. And coming in second, this is Lynn Patchett. She's had a great day. Lynn's a duathlete and triathlete. And what a performance there by Lynn. We'll see who's heading for third. And third place is Kim McMullen, the triathlete. She has a wonderful performance. Well done to Kim. Third place, May 24th, 2004. And this gentleman here, well, I was out there broadcasting, and this is probably one of my better finishes, May 24th, 32nd place. I don't run this as a race. I run it just as a run. It's too far for me to race. Just happy to be out there on the day. Run it easy. This is Larry Sucky Simons pushing a wheelbarrow right behind my buddy Mark Oldboy. But Larry, I have to give this guy a lot of credit. Pushing a wheelbarrow over 13 miles. That's incredible. More power to you. Look at those muscles. Now, Larry, for years, he's very dedicated to the gym. You talk about dedication. This is Glynis Benjamin. She has made it to the finish. This race is tough. You cannot play with May 24th. If you have not prepared, you won't even make it to the finish. Glynis made it to the finish. But, folks, you have to prepare. And I'm so proud of Glynis for finishing that one there. And I'm talking about proud. I'm proud of this man. This is my buddy, Larry Legend, Larry Dunlop, coming into the finish. He's run more May 24th than I have. He enjoys the day. Larry's in. He's happy to be finished. Another marker for him. And he signals, I'm happy. It's a great day for Larry.
What I like about Bermuda Day is the camaraderie and getting together with friends. Mainly, the attraction that I enjoy is many of the floats and the dancers that come along the streets. That's what I love about Bermuda Day.
Look up flowing and no signs of slowing. Grab a partner to enjoy the show and groove the night away and just lose control. Hands up in the air, see this atmosphere.
History was made today as the champion fell. Exciting day when it comes to May 24th. Always exciting, but in previous years, Kevin Smith has been the dominant factor. He's run away from the runners previously in the early stages. He's caught them in late stages, but today there was a plan. Jay Donovan and Terrence Armstrong managed to hold on to Smith right through to the end. We always knew that this great day would come when Smith would have to take on the challenges. The challenges were thrown back and forth throughout the course, and finally, in the mountains of the hills just outside the stadium, Terrence Armstrong was able to pull away. Jay Donovan takes second after Terrence Armstrong wins, a somewhat bittersweet victory for Jay. He beats Kevin Smith, however, he loses to Terrence Armstrong. A great spectacle was seen by all. Larry Dunlop, you were out there experiencing your version of the race. How was it for you?
Today, the humidity was the highest it's ever been. Thank God I trained in some high humidity, so I was able to hang on and finish. It wasn't a personal best. However, I was happy to see the finish line. But I tell you, the spectators were excelente today. They showed their support for each and every runner. Had it not been for them, I would have probably taken a boat across the harbor to finish. But congratulations to Terrence. It's been a long time coming. Unfortunately, as you said, Jay had to settle for second again. Kevin settled for third. And I'm sure the spectators got what they wanted this year. However, on the women's side, we weren't able to watch that, but we know our dear, reliable commentator, Anthony Rayner, saw that.
Anthony, you saw the women's race. Break it down for us. Anna Adderley was expected to be pressed, but she's a master of this race. How did you see it?
Well, as a Masters runner, she proved her dominance of the women's field. She proved her mastery of the course. She appeared to be very patient. She had a plan. She executed it well. She increased her lead gradually rather than, just go out and do something quickly and risk faltering at the end. Lynn Patchett, she's a very strong athlete. As we know, she competes in duathlon, triathlon, cycling, very strong. She just doesn't have that cadence that Anna has. The speed maybe just a little lacking, and so she had to settle for second today. We saw Kim McMullen, who's moved up the ranks this year. She's just back from a triathlon in Panama City, Florida, where she performed very well. She was very close to her time in her triathlon half marathon time today. So very well, Victoria Fiddick. She appeared to find it a bit hard and tough today. I don't know about her training or what's been going on recently, but she was consistent, but it was tough. And the women proved to be just as exciting, I think, as the men, and they proved their toughness and their commitment to the marathon derby. Larry commented on the spectators, and they were there. The spectators, as we were talking about earlier, have been barbecuing on the course. There were plenty of boats, Larry, available in case you needed a ride. They've been following us all the way from Barnes Corner. So they had their eyes on you. So I really enjoyed it today. It was an excellent race.
Spectators were the key today as the humidity was tough. Yes, I was out there doing running commentary and I found it tough as well. But as our team said, it was an exciting day for all. The women's race, Anna Adderley defends her title. Kevin Smith, remember, he had won this race 9 times before, so the 10th was going to be the challenge for him. It sets up a great spectacle for future races even, as Terrence Armstrong now takes the title and Jay Donovan is still hungry. For Larry Dunlop, Anthony Reyna, and the great VSP team that was out there covering, I'm Steve Burgess. Down at the field, where runners are still finishing today, and it's a great one for all.
Bermuda Day. Yay!
Hello, Bermuda. I hope you're all staying safe and well. This is the time of year when typically Bermudians come together to celebrate our heritage, our culture, our family connections, our national pride, and our national unity. However, the impact of COVID-19 means that Heritage Month and Bermuda Day must be observed differently. This year's theme for Heritage Month is We Are Bermudian. And it is an extremely worthy theme to embrace during this unprecedented time in our history. As we observe Bermuda Day, my hope is that we take some time out to remember the extraordinary efforts of our frontline workers, including those who are uniformed services, our doctors, our nurses, farmers, grocers, and others who are making sacrifices and working hard to keep us all safe. In this time of separation and physical distancing, let us hold fast to those things that connect and bind us. In lieu of parades in the streets, let's use this time to celebrate our heritage and celebrate our people. Let's celebrate our strength and resilience. Let's be proud and thankful for one another, and let's make this as memorable a day as possible. On behalf of the Ministry of Labor, Community Affairs and Sports, I wish you all a safe and happy Bermuda Day.
This is CITV, the government of Bermuda Television.
The following program was produced by former local broadcasting company VSB Television. In the interest of Bermuda's history and culture and in recognition of Heritage Month, the Ministry of Community, Cultural Affairs and Sports and CITV proudly present this program in its original format.
Bermuda is another world, 700 miles of sea, and the way that people greet you tastes like a friendly melody. To touch a flower in the morning, to listen to a honeybee, to water ski in the water. Say I feel free. Bermuda is another world. Turn around, I'll tell you why. To watch the morning sunrise, to the sea up to the sky.
2006, May 24th. Excitement as always. We meet here this morning at the start to analyze the race before the race begins. Unfortunate incident occurred yesterday in the men's division. Jay Donovan unfortunately had a sprained ankle. Very unfortunate situation occurring with Jay. However, the big names return to the line. Terrence Armstrong, the defending champion, is here after having won him twice, and the Marshall brothers set to challenge. Just getting by here now, Kevin Smith. Kevin has won this race 9 times, so he is undoubtedly one of the favorites as well. Larry Marshall, that's the man. How I see it, you see the other guys in there.
Steve, I'm going to go with Terrence Armstrong, the defending champion. Larry came 4th last year. Unfortunately, Jay is not in the race. Had Jay been in the race, I would have had a slightly different prediction. However, I'm going to go with Terrence, defending champion. I'm going to have Larry for 2nd place. Kevin is not in shape, so he's not going to be a contender. 3rd place, I guess I'll have to give it to Larry Marshall this year.
Larry, the women's race is wide open this year. Newcomer, Dawn Richardson, expected to be challenged by Karen Bodage and Rosa Pacheco and Kim McMullen. A lot of exciting things expected to take place in the women's division. Well, I've got to dash to the start of the race and run my race. We'll turn now to the cycling where all the action is.
And the riders are off at the start of the 2006 Sinclair Packwood Memorial Road Race, of course, sponsored by Butterfield and Vallis again this year. And as we see, it's what we call a rollout start in the lead vehicle, just slowly making its way to the top of the hill after the start, so giving riders the opportunity to clip into their pedals before the action really gets underway, which is just about now. And we see all the riders jockeying for position, coming down on this fast section, with the first major test, of course, being Scour Hill. It's one of the road surfaces in Bermuda that is least liked by any of the riders. It's very rough, and you can see there Greg Hopkins on the front, just controlling the pace somewhat. It was a little bit of a tactical start at the beginning of this race. Everybody made it safely over Scour Hill and down the other side, and now we can see Mark Hewlett, a very, very strong time trialist who's taking some work on the front there. They've already come across Somerset Bridge, and you can see by the way the riders are spread across the road that the pace yet has got to pick up. The riders just looking around at each other. It's very early stages. We've seen people go off very early in this race, and of course get pulled back very quickly. So everybody's just jockeying for position before the action really starts. And as we approach White Hill, I think that was the first opportunity when the pace really started to pick up, and quite a few of the riders went out the back door and did not regain contact with the lead group here. Again, having come over White Hill there, riders looking around, and that's Jamie Brown, a very, very strong triathlete and cyclist, taking the pace down the Port Royal Straight there, just looking over his shoulder again to see who's coming with him. And then there's Wayne Scott. You just saw him on the outside there, making a very, very bold move, very, very quickly on the outside and swing back onto the other side of the road, trying to catch everybody's surprise and really opening up quite a gap there. There's a group of riders. You can see as they come around the corner, they'll be a lot more strung out as they chase this back down with, I think it was Andre Battiston was one of the early chasers there, just coming up behind in the blue clothing of the Team RMS. And just as they get over that little brow there, they've just come past Whale Bay Road. It's all starting to come back together. It was a very good effort there by Wayne, but just stretching his legs out. He knew it was too early to go. Once again, Jamie Brown sitting there on the front, and there's in the orange there is Vic Ball, one of the veteran riders who always has an exceptionally strong ride in this race, always manages to stay until the end, which is a real credit to Vic Ball, positioned himself very well there. And there again, we have, looks like Jamie Brown on the front with Andre Battiston sat close on his back wheel, but the rest of the pack closing up, Jamie looking over his shoulder and realising that this move is not getting anywhere as he sees all the riders on his shoulder. So once again, a bit of a tactical battle going on, and Kent Richardson now has taken the lead as we're approaching the bottom of Burns House Hill. And as you see here, you'll watch Garth Thompson, the Canadian there with the orange helmet on, really puts on a surge over Burns House Hill. And this is on the other side, and there's three riders there that have separated themselves from the field, and you can see it's really stringing everybody out. Garth Thompson, extremely strong rider, coupled up there with Kent Richardson. That would have been a good combination for that breakaway to really make some ground on the rest of the field. And there we have little Ricky Souza. He's not little anymore, but young Ricky Souza, Kent Richardson and Garth Thompson. But the rest of the riders there, a few gone off the back, but the main pack have reeled them back in. And Garth Thompson, once again, this is on Inverurie Hill as we remember it, making a big attack on Inverurie Hill, but about 2/3 of the way up seemed to run out of steam. And it was in fact Kent Richardson that took over the lead from him there. Very, very strong, powering over the top of the hill. And in what was probably a pre-planned move here, Kent Richardson stayed on the front of the group for much of the rest of Harbour Road, keeping the pace very, very high, trying to discourage other riders from any sudden attacks. And you can see everybody else there just having to sit on his wheel. Second wheel there, Mark Atherley, a new rider, very, very good rider, especially on the hills, but on a short, powerful race like this, not really suited to his style as they're now coming around on the straightaway. Kent Richardson still on the lead there as they came round by Strawberry Hill, and they're now coming along by Aberfeldy Nursery. And then this is the section on East Broadway where the pace again was a big surge there from a couple of the riders, and trying to break the race up, keeping the pace high to discourage anybody from getting away. As they now make their turn onto Queen Street, it's a very tight turn at the Birdcage, and here they come up making that turn right now, positioning themselves well. Anybody that wants to win this race has to be in the first 2 or 3 riders around the corner at the top as they turn onto Cedar Avenue. So there they go, straight up to the traffic lights there, and it looked like Grant Gouge was leading it out around the corner, making that very tight left-hand turn. And here they come down, and Wayne Scott has got the lead. Ricky Souza on his wheel, and you saw there that Wayne Scott's foot came out, his chain wrapped around his pedal arm, stopping him from pedaling any further. Ricky Souza took advantage. A good win for Ricky Souza, well-deserved, great potential in that young man. Wayne Scott still managing second with Kamari Greaves in third place. And here comes some of the tail enders at the back of the race, but still nonetheless had a good ride down. Tab Froud going through there, Carlos Greaves, the father, of course, of Kamari Greaves.
These are traditional Gumbe mats. Bermuda Gumbe's dance is a mixture of African and Native Indian culture. Gumbes mean rhythm in African Bantu. The tradition of Gumbe dance has been passed on through generations. Gumbe dancers wear masks and costumes to hide their faces, as a long time ago, slaves who danced were not allowed to become Gumbes. The Gumbe dancers make up the Bermuda Day Parade and also are quite popular during the Christmas season.
You know this guy right here? Looks to be quite talented, and he prepares to go up Burns House Hill.
Jeffrey Dorn, Ronnie the band, a few other athletes here. Tony Warwick, James Francis.
There's a fast way for us to get to the finish line. Perhaps we should try this sometime.
Maybe be short. Tor Casey, just easing down Front Street, very looking comfortable and smooth.
Look at the folks all set up on Front Street. These folks have been there since the night before, Larry. You have to plan out your camping spots early.
No question about it. Another competitor just rolling through Vincent Seaman. Two other gentlemen, Jeffrey Doran, Tony Warwick, James Francis.
Spectators walking across there. They need to be very cautious with these guys.
Yeah, they enjoy these athletes, but they're really waiting for the runners.
The rollerbladers in Hamilton now on Front Street, gliding down Front Street ever so smoothly and eloquently.
Robert Kennedy, Arthur Furcon, number 24.
You know this guy?
I do know him. Taking his time. You see he's in no hurry, enjoying the event, got a smile on his face, got all his protective gear in case he has a spill, doesn't want to injure himself.
And there's Torquese taking victory number 7. This guy is the king when it comes to inline skating. The man, Torquese. Okay, we go now to the Junior Classic, Larry. These are the budding stars of the future, featuring some of the greatest athletes Bermuda is going to see in years to come.
No doubt. You see
there's Tyree Armstrong. He's the nephew to Terrence Armstrong. The Armstrongs have developed into quite the family of running in Bermuda.
And they enjoy it. The key for these kids is to enjoy the race. Enjoy the run. Then they can look forward to, as they get older and mature, they see they have talent, they can be pushed even further. We see the spectators.
They've all settled there. There's Lana Hollis. These spectators have settled out. There's Earl Godfrey, 1984 Olympic cyclist. He's going to set the pace for these runners as they go to their marks, and they're off. This is it, the 2006 Junior Classic.
Yeah, a lot of runners in the field. These are talented runners here. You see the big boys up front setting the pace.
Matthew Spring. Matthew Spring is a name we're going to be hearing for years to come. He's going to dictate the pace in this race. He has laid down a foundation up on the track and has had great success with track and field.
Yeah, he has plenty of support from his family and coaching. You see all the athletes running down towards the bird cage and up Queen Street.
They get a chance to test the course early. They get a chance to preview what they'll do in years to come as Matthew Spring takes a look over his shoulder to see where the other competitors are. Matthew Spring has dominated the 800, 1500, and 3000 meters on the track as the fast guys behind him, like Trey Simons, look at his back.
Yeah, he's got this race all to himself. You see, no one's threatening, no one's pushing him. Number 122 looks comfortable at this point. See the spectator in the corner just watching. Now he's finishing along Cedar Avenue.
Coming along Cedar Avenue, he's pushing the pace. This is a great stretch. You've changed the course now, Larry. It's going away from Cavendish Heights. It comes down that tunnel on Cedar Avenue. What's that like?
I prefer the Cedar Avenue route.
There's young Adlai Botchway. He is a name of the future. And Trey Simons, the animal, number 106, with Dorian Armstrong. We mentioned that name, Armstrong. Dorian Armstrong, nephew to Terrence Armstrong.
Yeah, we see a few other athletes coming along here. 129.
Jericho Clark. And then there's David Lund, the Front Street Mile champion this year. Tyree Armstrong, nephew to Terrence Armstrong. The Armstrongs making their case that they are a family to watch.
Yeah.
BJ coming along here. Brighton Swan.
We see the other athletes along there. William White. We see Daniel Andrade.
I see Kyle Godfrey in there, number 145. Kyle Godfrey, son of Earl Godfrey.
Brighton Swan. We see Sean Herman, Dage Miners.
Justin Corday. Here comes young Winton Woodley, number 137. Winton Woodley Jr. Watch that name in the future.
Yep. His dad is a big supportive fan of his. 110.
We have Ashley Berry. We have Jasmine Otterbridge. That's Jasmine there, number 90.
Megan Derry. Akila Bremer.
With that name as we go along in the years to come.
Marcus Bean. Jack Keys. Brian Cantarella.
But look at these guys here. These guys are flying down the street.
Yeah, they're enjoying themselves, competing against one another.
The introduction of this race to the May 24th day makes a big difference. Now the kids get an opportunity to enjoy and put on a performance for their fans and friends.
Yep, and as we said, year in, year out, this sets them up. This gives them the experience they need for once they're able to compete in the big race.
103 was Jack Keys there, the tennis star, as Matthew Spring turns into Bernard Park. He's going to celebrate the victory for 2006.
Matthew Spring springing along to finish in first place.
Botchway managed to hold off Trey Simons, and here's Dorian Armstrong.
Yep, he finished fourth in this race.
And that's Tyree Armstrong coming in there. Trains with the Flyers Track Club.
Yep.
Oh, what a sprint finish we have going on here. Look at that form. we both want to critique that. And officials there ever so vigilant to catch them there.
Yeah, this sets up the day. This gets the fans on the road a little appetizer before the big boys come down Front Street.
Wonderful performance here by the youngsters on the day. Everyone is a winner.
Yep, everyone. All participants, see the officials in the lime green shirts. Got everything in orderly fashion.
Well done to all of them.
And here we have Miss Bermuda coming through on the parade this year. We've been waiting patiently for her. Hi, Miss Bermuda. Hi. With her beautiful pink convertible and beautiful driver. We're so excited to have her join us this year. Hi, Miss Bermuda. How great is that? She's always a fantastic addition to opening our parade every year. We're so happy she could join us. Bermuda is another world. And there we have it, folks. That's our Miss Bermuda opening up our May 2020 Bermuda Day Parade. Thank you for joining us here on Born Television Network.
Bermuda's legends, Larry. Archie Tucker to the inside wearing red. Lee Tucker in the yellow. This is Tucker's town at its best as they leave Somerset. These guys have been around for a while. Archie Tucker, 84 years old, still running May 24th.
Yep, in great shape. It just shows that lifestyle is the key to having longevity. And talking about longevity, hey, canoeing, got your oars up. Look at the water, nice and calm.
How else could one relax on May 24th? And you know all about boats, Larry?
A little bit, not a lot, a little bit.
Well, the day is for everyone to enjoy. Bermuda Day, it's a community day. It's when everyone takes the day off and really relaxes. Some of us choose to do inline skating, and some of us, like Superman, choose to fly.
Cal Steed, 348 Otis Robinson, number 2.
What's Otis doing up front with these guys? These guys are the best in the country. We have Terrence Armstrong running second, Larry Marshall to the inside, and there's Michael Neville. Lamont Marshall was in there, as was Evan Norday, and this is Michael Neville, Peter Mills in the green, Sylvester Jean-Pierre, Ricky Souza, Brett Forgerson, Simon Ashby, Chris Hedges, and Leon Bascom, with the first lady chasing
Karen Bordage.
There's Gary
Colin
Rayner.
Swan.
Gary Rayner's on the comeback, and there's Kim McMullen with Mark Morrison escorting her.
Yep, see Colin Swan, Karen Bordage, a triathlete.
Terrence Armstrong carrying the water bottle with him, loosening up. Larry Marshall now back home in Bermuda and establishing himself as one of the best runners of all time. Evan Norday from South Africa, known as a triathlete.
Yep. Now on the backside of Skull Hill, just opening the leg stride. You see the twin.
What's his pace
Norday.
like up front, Larry?
They were on 5:30 pace, Steve. You see Larry Marshall.
Tracy Wright, who has won this race twice before, not to be counted out.
Not at all. Won it in 1997 and 1992.
The Nordays, they're twin brothers. They are dangerous when it comes to triathlons, but they are strong as well. Tracy Wright, very strong when it comes to May 24th.
Talking about May 24th, you see Terrence and Larry running neck and neck. Both got their running shades on. Both of them looking comfortable. Larry having won one of the 10K races this year. Lamont having won the Front Street Mile, an impressive time. You see he looks strong, upper body.
As they come across the bridge now, we see Larry Marshall to the inside. Terrence Armstrong runs to the outside. The pace is hot. Lamont Marshall covering the moves nicely. And there's Evan Norday making the field of 4 now as they break away out of Somerset. Here comes Sylvester Jean-Pierre. Denny Kendall runs in the center. And then there's Michael Neville. Denny Kendall ran a great Boston Marathon this year, so he was ready.
Yep, well prepared. These runners are the elite group. You see, and as they come through, Leon Bascom.
Leon Bascom, another one who had a great marathon this year. So marathon sets you up well. But Gary Rayner towards the back. 2 months ago, he could not walk. Glenn Robertson got him ready for this day.
Yep. You see runner, spectator dashing across the bridge. Kevin Smith, the former champion, 9-time winner, along with Mark Morrison, got the focus shirt on.
School is in. He's teaching Mark Morrison how to run this race. But on the comeback, in the red, Kevin Tucker. Watch out. This guy is coming back into the sport.
Arnold Duck Mandus going through. Calvin Steed.
Tim Shea. And this guy coming over the bridge now is Mark Allboy, one of the greatest runners Bermuda's ever seen. He's 53 years old, Larry.
Yep, and in great shape. Followed by Jeffrey Blee and Martin Neeren.
Mark Allboy is showing the youngsters that even though he's going 50, he can still do this. And Manuel Lopes, who runs a fantastic New York Marathon every year, is on this course.
Yeah, he's in good shape as well. Educator Harry Patchett.
Dawn Richardson just arrived on the island, but look out for that name. And here goes Dennis Wainwright Jr.
Yep, the officials decided to waive the 6-month rule to allow her to compete. And so
William
she's
Wood
in the
and
race.
Anton Dujvik. Anton's going 60. And there's my barber, Ed Armstrong. Keeps me nice and fresh.
Yep, his brother up front, Terrence.
Rosa Pacheco
Musso.
coming along with Mike Osborne. Mike Osborne's her bodyguard. There's D. McMullen, another physiotherapist on the island, very talented.
Yep, these runners here put some training in. Let it be no mistake made about it. They have put some training in. They look to be in good shape.
There goes Sean. And Mike Wally, the Flying Scot in there. I see him as well.
Yep, always runs, and a good runner. Loves the sport as well, competes every year. For Mike, it's probably his 20th time competing, if not more.
Pace now somewhere in the region of what, 650?
Yeah, this is 7 minute per mile pace. Wyman Minks.
He's tried his hand at the marathon as well.
Yep, he's a fisherman. And
this
also
guy coming here has improved immensely. Steven De Silva.
Steve Treasurer De Silva.
Elliot Hubbard just going by there. And Chris Page, Elliot Hubbard made a name for himself as a cyclist.
Yep, professional cyclist, now turn runner.
Roberta Simmons and Chantal McIsaac. Chantal McIsaac won the Front Street Mile, but Roberta Simmons, hey, she's a name to watch.
She is.
Maria Conroy Hayden won this race before.
We're
looking at champions of the past.
We are. Talking about champions of the past. Kevin Anderson, physiotherapy, just going through.
Kevin Anderson was outstanding at Barclay Institute, one of the greatest runners Barclay Institute saw back in the day.
Correct. Walter Harris going through.
Lisa Bean. Oh, man, Lisa Bean has pushed me to some fast times.
Yeah, she's put a lot of training in as well.
I see Derek Ming in there.
Derek Ming running through. Lionel Bartley.
Charlene Shakes, personal trainer.
Varnell Scooby Durham.
Yeah, this is what May 24th is.
These
all
are the
about.
guys I was running with, Larry. This is the pace I come out of Somerset at. Craig Asper.
You're wise. It's a long ways to go.
I haven't raced this race yet, Larry. I just do my radio commentary and come down. There's Ty Butchway, Leonard Ty Butchway.
Yeah, this is what May 24th is all about. This year, the numbers were up. It was a record number of years, over 600 runners competing, and that's great. The weather excellent.
Dr. David Saul, former premier of the country, he used to hold all sorts of records. Zane De Silva.
Yep. Dr. Saul reportedly trains on the South Shore Dunes every Saturday morning religiously.
Ruben.
Yes, Ruben, the tire man Mallory, now in construction.
Randall Anderson, Tony Steele,
Zena Jones,
Mal
Dillis,
Benjamin.
Glennis Benjamin has run a couple of marathons to date.
There's Tara Oakham and Jacqueline Tunison, both of them outstanding runners.
Yep. Trust me, these runners have also put in some miles, Steve.
Yeah, Anthony Cho Wilson, Dandy Town soccer star.
Newton Adcock, the BFNM guy.
Looks like Lisa Van Roy coming here. I don't know where April Veazey and Terry Bossu are, but they all trained together. April and Terry must have flew by. I didn't even see them go by the camera.
Yeah, they went by quickly. Yep. And these runners here, they have put training in. Trust me, they've put their training in. They're not going to win the race, but they're certainly going to finish.
This is a race that you must prepare for. This is not something you do by accident.
Patrick No Shirt Canes.
Must have left his shirt home that morning.
Perry Cochran used to be a great runner back in the high school
used to
days.
Own cross country back in high school.
Yep, you see 4 runners there, all in the same uniform. I guess they're running for charity of some sort.
Outstanding day for athletes to come out and try their. Oh gosh, talk about an effort by an athlete. This is Jim Butterfield, the greatest athlete Bermuda has ever produced when it comes to triathlon.
Yep, finished
7th at the Ironman Classic.
Yep, back in the day. Jim has always been an athlete, and Debbie Butterfield herself, having won the race 7 times in the women's
And
division.
son Tyler now carries the mantle for the family.
Yep, Miss Huey going along.
What's this
Vicky
picture?
Abraham. This is 8 minute 30. Paul Singh, the policeman.
Hey, they're the
keeping
purple
things in-
short. There goes Amanda Kirk. She used to be Miss Bermuda Fitness. Larry Richardson pushing the baby
Clinton
carriage.
Curtis.
Larry Richardson does a phenomenal job of pushing a carriage.
Yep, racing.
Or use a wheelchair for raising funds for charity.
Yep, if you're going to run this
Midge
grueling
Oliver
race.
has done over 20 of these races.
Yep, and run marathons. Her and Bob, her husband Bob. These are the competitors. These are the runners that running to finish. Their goal is to finish. Andre Simons just going through there.
You know all these guys.
I know some of them.
These
I
are
know
all
some
your
of them.
competitors.
Yeah, I know a few of them, Steve.
This little hill here challenges after the bridge.
Yeah, it's a good shot. See the spectators looking at the faces of the runners. You don't want to be hurting at this point, Steve. If you're hurting at this point, you're in big trouble.
This guy here used to try to race me, Patrick
Anderson.
There goes
Yep.
Helen Dill.
Zena Thomas coming back from a long absence from this race. Nice to see her back out.
Sharmini Thamotharam. Sharmini
Yep.
is a hockey star and took the opportunity to challenge herself over this distance,
Yep.
as did her fiance. Who's this guy in the hat?
Keynes, Hatman, running along the race. You see these runners now just enjoying it, got a smile on her face.
This
looking
is
at the
Louise
cameras.
Wakefield. She
Yep.
said she could do this, and she's been successful. And there goes Norbert Seymour.
Yep, you see some runners got their
This lady's wearing long
iPod.
pants.
Yep.
Bit hot for them.
Yep. Gilbert Lopes, developer Gilbert Lopes going through.
Teachers rugby team got together and decided to do this event to raise funds. What an effort. Outstanding when you can run together.
Excellent. And those guys are not small. So you know, hey, they're doing that for a worthy cause, Steve.
Excellent efforts by everyone here. If you've never tried this race, it's something you need to do.
We return to action on May 24th, 2006. The Marshall brothers, the M&M boys, are here.
They are. You see Larry setting the pace, Lamont feeding it off for him. We see Terrence on the inside now. Lamont's now controlling the action.
A lot of counter-attacking going on now.
Yeah, I think their strategy was to feed off of one another to see what Terrence had, being the defending champion. So we know the pressure was on Terrence.
One must come to this race with a plan. The strategies was Marshall 1, you take the lead, that being Larry. Marshall 2 being Lamont, you take the lead. Alternate the lead and see if Terrence can handle the hits that they were going to throw at him.
Yep, Terrence coming into this race in great shape. We know he's been doing some marathon training. He plans to run a marathon after the race is over. We see now at that point in the race, we're looking at around the 4-mile marker. So all three runners should still be fresh at this point.
We didn't have a lot of information on Terrence this year because he lives outside of Bermuda. But the Marshalls, the M&M boys, had been sending some serious messages this year, Larry. The 31-minute, 19-second 10K was message that was sent by Larry, and Lamont was right behind with 31:39, I do believe. It also won the Front Street Mile.
It's all about Bermuda Day, Bermuda Heritage Day. And the runners, this has always been a big part of the event. This day, like no other, you have the most spectators ever come out to watch the runners.
Look at this Marshall sandwich. They've taken Terrence and put him right in the middle. They have sandwiched him and made a Marshall sandwich out of him. This is scary.
Very scary, Steve. I like that. I like the way you put that.
These guys have come with a plan. No, they're coached by their dad. So I know there was a strategy laid out well in advance of the date. But we're talking about strategy, the strategy of Calvin Bodie. You saw this.
Yep, she's a triathlete, so we know she has that course training background. But in front of her, we saw Martin Nero and Jeffrey Bleeder, great training runners. I see them running all the time.
Dawn Richardson was closing in. Dawn Richardson was making a move. And here's Maria Conroy Hayden, who I said earlier has won this race before.
Yep, and she's been in great shape. Steve, I believe you trained her that year as well.
We
Talking
went
about
we went
training.
through some serious training, but these guys have put in the work. Larry Marshall Sr. brought his studs to the course this year as Lamont Marshall, the Front Street Mile champion of 2006, takes the lead now on Terrence Armstrong, who holds numerous records in Bermuda when it comes to track and field.
Yep, he's won this race the last 2 years. We see him going across the Heron Bay gas station area. Lamont still controlling the pace at this point. We see Terrence countering. Larry in the back there just going across Fisher's Paint Supplies. They're now approaching the Burnt House Hill. Both of them looking good.
Effort is running as we see all the support vehicles here, television crews, and all the support vehicles carrying the various legends of yesteryear. I believe Ludwig Can was supported in one of the vehicles. But here we go now. Lamont Marshall runs to the inside. Terrence Armstrong looking so comfortable.
Yeah, you see both of them. Terrence coming in great shape. Last year he wore the high socks. This year, a slight change in plans. Now they're encountering Burnt House Hill.
Burnt House Hill. This hill comes at a critical stage in the race. They tell me if you can hang on to Burnt House Hill, after that it's a lot easier.
It is. This is the halfway point. They're on the backside of Burnt House now. All three of them still in contention. You see Terrence just holding that small bottle of water, running over his legs. You see him got his shades on. You see Larry on the outside, Lamont in the back. At this point, you still can't see who has any advantage, Steve.
These three runners come from an interesting track background. Each of them has speed. Now, you and I like to critique the fact of speed versus endurance. Who would you go with at this stage based on the fact that they're all equal when it comes to speed?
Well, this race, as we know, Kevin won it 9 times. We know that upper body strength is important. Bermuda Day Marathon course is for a strength runner. Speed, yes, you must have it, but you must have strength and endurance.
Larry Marshall now decides to throw down the gauntlet on Terrence Armstrong. Both of them bring the shades to keep the glare out.
Yep, one wearing number 1, the other wearing number 2. We see Lamont just a couple of meters back. Talking about a couple of meters back. Now just going up Burnt House Hill herself, Calvin Bodie.
Calvin Bodie had forced the pace. She determined to push the pace on Dawn Richardson here.
Yep, this lady was very happy to have that 6-month rule waived so she can compete. Talking about competing, well, there's no competing there. Everyone on that boat is just relaxing.
Now, what would you prefer? Be out there running or be out there on your boat?
Both. Somehow, both.
Both your interests. As we come now around Harbor Road, Larry Marshall and Terrence Armstrong have decided to up the ante. Lamont Marshall seems to be falling back slightly.
Yep. Well, you know, in previous years, at this point, you know, Terrence learned a valuable lesson in the previous years, not going out too hard. But I think he has something saved in the tank this year. We see Larry looks like he's grimacing just a little bit. The upper body just backwards. We see now Terrence drinking up some more water. He knows he's got Larry in the back, and we see Lamont falling off the pace, perhaps another 150 meters in the back. Now he's making a move, Steve.
There was sustained effort being applied now by Terrence Armstrong. The Marshall brothers had somewhat backed off the pace as Karen Bodie now turns it on in the ladies division.
Yep, you see she's got a considerable distance over the second place runner. That upper body strength, you see her showing good form still. That triathlon training coming to effect for this particular race.
Triathlons, marathons, another one talk about triathlon. This is Kim McMullen, my physiotherapist. She keeps me in shape, and she has a great deal of strength as well.
Yeah, that triathlon background is important. We know the duel when Tony Ryan used to compete with Mike Watson. Tony Ryan used to beat Mike because Tony Ryan was a triathlete as well. And so him and Mike dueled for those many years. But talking about dueling now, this is Terrence against the Marshall brothers.
Okay, the brothers regroup now. The brothers decide now, let's work together and make another effort to go after Terrence. As Lamont here, we look at him. 21 years old, Larry. 21 years old means that this guy's future will indeed be a bright one. Larry there now back home in Bermuda after having attended university at St. Augustine's in North Carolina. He's home now, and between the two of them, I think they are going to rewrite the record books when it comes to running in Bermuda.
Yeah, I feel so. I agree with you. If they work together, just like the Williams sisters in tennis, I think that they can really make a name for themselves.
I like that analogy.
As far as the May 24th Marathon Derby is concerned. Look at the background. Look at the ships in the background. Look at the boats. Spectators just looking at Terrence as
cruise ships all lined up there.
Got his
Hamilton
yellow
skyline. This is running at its best as we come now around Harbor Road. Karen Bodie takes a drink. It's not too hot today, but it's something that you definitely need to note, taking in the liquids.
Yep. One thing about 24th of May, and talking about that, Dawn Richardson,
escorted by Ed Armstrong.
Yep.
Ed Armstrong. This guy has so much talent. He can always pace the top ladies.
Yep.
And look, cheerleaders.
Entertainment.
They must be getting ready for the parade later.
Hey, they're certainly getting good practice. Loving it. Karen Bodie still having to race her way, leading.
What? Some guy decides to go and paint his wall today? Oh gosh, what a day to do a painting job.
Or he's working for double time.
Karen Bodie now coming around Harbor Road. As we turn now to Terrence Armstrong, turning into Crow Lane. I wonder if Johnny Barnes is watching him.
I'm not sure. Johnny's usually out a bit early, Steve. However, in second place now, we see Lamont in second place.
Look like Dr. Woods there cheering in the corner. She usually has her position marked out early.
Yeah.
Now, this distance here, you were measuring the gap. What's the distance here of these two?
Looks like about 150 meters, Steve. 150 to 200 is hard because of how the camera's shot here. But you see they're coming along Front Street.
And there you go there. You're piloting
probably 200
our
meters.
cameraman, Al. He trusts your riding. You guys have been doing it for years. Now, coming into Hamilton, did you feel Lamont had a chance to catch him?
Well, the gap was opened up at Crow Lane. However, Lamont, showing the gutsy run he is, was making every effort to try to catch Terrence. But Terrence, the defending champion,
BG Pond cruise ship parked up, the tourists getting full view of this spectacle on Front Street, all the pace vehicle. This shot from overhead, a lovely shot. This day
excellent shot.
Cannot be duplicated anytime. I love your riding skills, Larry. Look at that.
This day is like no other, Steve. Look at the spectators just waiting for these runners to come through.
I mentioned earlier, you have to get your spots early. You have to mark out your territory well in advance of the date.
You do, or you would have no spot at all. Kept talking about no spot at all. Here's Karen Bodie again, still holding on to the first place in the female category.
She's got a large bullseye on her back because Dawn Richardson is watching her.
She does, and you see Karen running, looking still comfortable, still good leg turnover at this point.
Large appreciative crowd there at Crow Lane.
Yeah, that's one of the areas where you get a standing ovation just for your efforts. She still looks comfortable. Her legs are still turning over reasonably fast. That upper body strength which she has from the cross
Karen
training.
Bodie, sub 3 hour marathon runner, making her mark when it comes to May 24th, 2006. Terrence Armstrong setting the pace now, Larry. He's opened up a gap.
Yep, you see Lamont not quite in close range. Talking about close range, this looks like Kevin Smith, 9-time champion, not coming to the line in great shape this year, but nonetheless, he's competing. Shouldn't be under no pressure for him this year.
Whilst we reflect on Kevin, there's a name that's missing from today, Larry. We'll talk about Terrence momentarily.
Jay Donovan. Jay missing this year. In fact, I would have predicted him to win, believe it or not. However, he had a slight ankle injury and was unable to participate, so the race goes on.
Said circumstances, they're revolving around Jay Donovan, not here today as Terrence Armstrong runs down the tunnel of people in Cedar Avenue. There's nothing like it. Cavendish Heights does not duplicate this. This is the finish, Larry.
Yep, this is the finish. It's almost like a vacuum cleaner as a runner. You get sucked in as you come down Cedar Avenue.
Those crowds through there will lift you like no other.
You saw Terrence looking back
right there. There's Karen Bodage.
Yep, just coming across Church Street, just by the Parliament Street area. She's still looking good, but right in the back, less than 50 meters behind, Dawn Richardson
is closing in on Karen Bodage. Dawn Richardson came in with a little controversy from the standpoint she wasn't on the island the typical length of time, 6 months required, but the organizers felt 2 months was sufficient, and she's been giving her just due. Now, she's set up a great race here as she chases Karen Bodage. If we go back up to the front, Terrence Armstrong heading for his third victory, Larry.
Yep.
Is going to take his place amongst the annals of great ones who've won it numerous times.
Correct. 3. Winning it once is good. Winning it twice is better. Winning it 3 times is that much better.
I know you like stats, and you'll put this in your statistics annal as Terrence Armstrong wins the 2006 May 24th Classic.
Successfully defending his title. That clock was not accurate. It was actually a minute off.
Yeah, so 1:11 there. Quite a surprise. There's Gary Kent Smith, ever vigilant on the finish line.
Yep, Terrence happy to see that finish line. And coming right 20 seconds behind, Lamont Marshall.
A name that will be out there
in years to come. I predicted Lamont to finish third behind his brother.
As Evan Nordy actually gets fourth. Larry Marshall has finished at this stage.
Yep, and that's a good time, good run.
Kevin Smith, 9-time champion, puts up a challenge and chases home the big boys.
You can see he's certainly hurting with a grimace on his face. That's a 9-time champion. Knows what this race is all about. Former 2-time winner, Tracy Wright,
won the Masters division.
There's Larry Marshall finishing up. The clock says hour 13:27. It's actually an hour 14:27.
Now, here's a classic finish here with the women's race. They've just come up King Street, turning now onto Victoria. Dennis Wainwright Jr. is going to be right in the middle of the action. Dawn Richardson can see Karen Bodage. What's she thinking?
Yep, well, Dennis Wainwright is now sandwiched between these two female runners, the first and second place. Now it's a 3-person race. We see Dawn now just passing, edging across Karen Bodage.
We've slowed up the footage so we can capture the moment, Larry. Dawn Richardson had made her move. She saw the target on Karen Bodage's back. Once she came up to Karen Bodage, I'm sure there was a swift move. But now we turn now onto Cedar Avenue, and the crowd is going to get a show.
Yes, less than 3/4 of a mile left. Karen Bodage been in front of this race all this time, not wanting her to lose. You see her now overtaking.
I didn't realize
Dawn.
that she fought back. She fought back. I thought that she had just been passed and it was all over.
She was leading the race all up until that time. She was not prepared to let it go just then. And you see Dennis Wainwright now hanging on.
He's got a front row seat for this action. This is the women's division at its best. The battle lines have been drawn. Karen Bodage has moved ahead of Dawn Richardson, who took the lead earlier, and now down the stretch they come.
Yep, now that triathlon training now coming into effect. However, Dawn Richardson has now taken a lead on Karen Bodage.
It's moments to go to the finish line, and the gap is now down to about 20 or 30 meters. Dawn Richardson checks over her shoulder. Dennis Wainwright playing the ever-vigilant escort. He's going to take her home.
Yep, yes, he is. And you see, Dawn Richardson has opened up a lead. Karen Bodage just not in the picture. The gap is at least 100 meters and continue to open.
I met Dawn Richardson one night at the track. Immediately when I saw her, she glided away from my athletes on the track. I thought, this could be a lady that could do some damage on the island. I didn't realize that she'd make it so soon.
Now we see Karen Bodage back there. The gap is open. You can See, she has no challenge now from Karen. This should be her race, Steve.
A
Without any
very
problem.
effortless run by Dawn Ritson. She's got a great background. She's run a 52-mile race at Comrades in South Africa. She's done a sub 3-hour marathon. I think she ran 2:57. She has an outstanding resume, and she's showing that she knows how to do it as Ludwig Can heads in now. Now, he was honorary on the day. We missed him. He's had some ill health, but he'll be back.
Yep, and it's good to see him. And we see another runner just running through the line. 2:32.
Ed Armstrong. Ed Armstrong, rock steady, knows how to do the day. But on this day, it's Dawn Richardson winning the 2006 May 24th Marathon Derby.
Yep, you see she won that race within the last 3/4 of a mile. Her and Karen Bodie dueled the last half-mile distance.
There's Dennis Wainwright Jr., who watched the show, and there's Karen Bodie.
In second place after leading the race for over 12 miles. I know she's somewhat disappointed.
She ran for Hope Academy, so she had a charity effort going as well, so the day wasn't all lost.
No, it wasn't.
And here comes Kim McMullen. She gets third place.
Yep, and looking strong as she finishes closest fast.
Kim keeps her eye on those ones up front, and looks like Rosa Pacheco is going to take fourth. Rosa will definitely come up in the big time in years to come.
See her doing a lot of training.
Mike Osborne, her escort, following.
Wash your hands, wash them right, with soap and lots of water. Wash between fingers, get under the nails, go above the wrists. Do this for no less than 20 seconds. Rinse properly, dry with a clean towel. If there is no water, do the same motions with an alcohol-based hand sanitizer containing at least 60% alcohol. Wash your hands, wash them right. This message is brought to you courtesy of the Department of Health.
Okay, we're talking to Ricky Souza. I believe you're the youngest rider to win this race.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's an obvious question. How does it feel? And I think I know the answer, but tell us anyway.
It's good. I wanted it up for like last few years since I seriously got into it. And it's like a dream come true to be 24th May winner.
And obviously, your nip race got at the finish, and all riders are confident. When did you really feel you had it under control?
I didn't really until we finished. I just hoped for the best. I came around the corner and I was in the right position. But I got Junior Guerin, so I didn't know if I was gonna be able to pass him because he got more gears than me. So, and it just luckily panned out right at the end.
Okay, Jasmine Outerbridge was the first in her 11 to 12 year age group in the juniors race. Jasmine, tell us about practicing for the race and your approach to it.
Well, I practiced on Sunday to make sure I knew where I was going and I didn't lose energy and knew the whole course. So it's kind of hard during the last leg of the race. I didn't get any water, but it was a great race. I felt really good. I think I broke a record, the 11 to 12 record, I think. Yeah.
I know you take part in the Front Street Mile back in January. What do you prefer, the Front Street Mile or this longer race?
Well, I quite like both because it might be a little longer this race, but I like longer distances.
We have with us Tor Casey, who has won the inline skating race again, and sir, it's becoming a habit. How do you feel?
I feel absolutely wonderful. Like I said, it's a good habit, huh?
It's a good habit to have.
Yeah, that's 7 times. I'm in heaven. Seventh heaven, like Kevin.
Understood. 7th heaven indeed, right. Okay, how did you feel during the race?
Actually, I felt quite good. We started, pretty fast. I was able to keep up despite not much training this year. Actually, I really didn't train. But anyway, enough of that. Felt good, man. Felt good.
Okay. Now, you said you didn't train, and obviously you've been in good shape, but what advice would you give to youngsters who are trying to emulate you? What training should they do?
Just utilize your stress.
Congratulations winning your third May 24th crown. Tell us about today's race with the Marshall brothers particularly.
It was a very tough race today, actually. Physically, I was prepared for any type of tactics that occurred today. I was ready to run fast. I was ready to run tactically, but I knew mentally or physically I was ready to run fast, and that's what I wanted to do. From the get-go, I just said I wanted to start out the first couple miles at about 5:30 pace and gradually pick it up. The Marshalls had a nice little tactic going. They physically just kept taking the lead, kept taking it over, trying to utilize me, and they had a great tactic going. And I just try to keep myself in focus and know what I had to do. And coming over Burnt House Hill, I just knew I had to pretty much make my move now. Physically, just as quick as me with the legs. So if they were at the end with me, I knew it would have been a great sprint to the finish. And who knows with them, they're probably a little quicker than me, I would say right now with the type of training they've been doing. So I just had to basically run my race and just try to burn them out as soon as I could. And unfortunately, I got a little cramp coming over KFC, so I had to back off. But they made me work to the end, and they made me work for it today. It wasn't a race that was run tactically. It was a fast race, and, I was lucky to come out on top. Thank you.
Lamont Marshall finishing second this year. What was your strategy going into the race, you and your brother Larry?
Going into the race definitely was to win. One of us to win, just coordinate, go with the lead, just back and forth. And basically, wait to at least Burnt House, try to keep as comfortable as possible up until then. And then just whenever you felt good, just make a burst for it. Give it a go.
Congrats, Dawn Richardson, winning your first May 24th.
Thank you. That's fantastic.
How does it feel? Because on the course, you're in second place for most of the race.
I would have been happy with second place. I thought Karen deserved to win with her being injured the last 2 years. I definitely thought it was her race, and especially since she was running for charity as well. But I'm just amazed it just came through in the last couple of miles. So I thought she had it. I would have been second. I would have been happy with second.
So what was your stride? What was your race plan going in?
Just to be really, really sensible. I'm not used to the heat. When I woke up this morning and saw the clouds, I thought, fantastic. And I got to the start by about 8 o'clock, and then it just got hotter and hotter. And I thought, oh, no, it's just going to be... Just take it really, really steady. I just wanted to, my parents have flown over especially to see me race today. I want to watch the carnival this afternoon. I just didn't want to go to casualty. So I just tried to take it really steady. So, but well done to all the girls. It's been a truly fantastic race and really well organised. I'd like to say thank you to Trevor Cann and the committee for allowing me to race. I feel very privileged to be on the island, let alone compete.
Congratulations, Karen Bodie, coming second this year, but you were leading the race for quite some time.
Yes, I was.
Take us through.
I started out really strong. I felt really good. And I heard that, my competition was quite far behind me. But then unfortunately, I started to get some cramps just before Burnt House Hill. And from there, I just did the best I could. I just tried to, keep my calves as cramp-free as possible. But boy, it's a hilly course and the conditions are super, hard out there. But the crowd just gets right into it and pushes you along the way. It's a fantastic event to be part of. And for us, I'm running for Friends of Hope Academy, our charity, raising money for children with special needs in Bermuda. And for sure that helped to push me along the way, running for my son and the kids at his school. And just at the very end, with about 800 meters to go, Dawn overtook me. And, I tried really hard to stay with her, give it everything I had, but she had more than I did. She had a good, strong finish. I just couldn't quite stay with her.
Now you've run this race twice, so will it be 3 times next year?
Oh, absolutely. I'll be there next year trying to stay with Dawn.
Congratulations on second place and also running for charity.
2006 May 24th history. And of course, we of course were out there running and left it to the legends of reporting, Larry Legend and Anthony the statistics man Rayner. Guys, it was exciting out there. Larry, tell me about the men's race.
I predicted Terrence would defend his crown, Larry would come second, Lamont would come third. Terrence defended his crown and held off those 2 upcoming runners. Lamont came second, Larry came third this year. Terrence had to work. He was prepared this year, mentally, physically, but he had to work because those 2 brothers, the Marshall brothers, will be back. They challenged him all through the race, even in the later stages of the race. Terrence still had to pick up and find that inner strength in order to prevail and defend his crown and win number 3. So my hat's off to Terrence for defending. I picked him to win since he's the defending champion, but my hat's off to the Marshall brothers who finished 1-2.
You see the brothers make their statement today as they close in on Terrence Armstrong, who now moves on to 3 with his titles. Anthony Rayner.
Karen Bodie started the race dominated the first 10 miles of the race. She did cramp a little bit in the Belmont area, had a tough time coming over the Inverurie Hill. Dawn Richardson, patient. She ran like she had a very defined plan. It looked as though she planned to attack at the end. She was about almost 2 minutes behind at one point along Harbor Road. She gradually, at the end of Harbor Road, closed the gap. East Broadway, she had in her sights. She took a little bit at a time, When Church Street, Karen Bodage had a tough time outside the marketplace, just coming up the hill there. I don't know if she felt the cramp again. And Dawn Richardson, she had the opportunity to pass her there. She sat behind her, just relaxed until 1 mile from the finish line. She decided this is it. She ran a very courageous race. I was really impressed with the way she took it out. She was very confident. Unfortunately, she cramped. Dawn Richardson, with the experience that she has, ran like a master. Kim McMullen, we saw Kathy Fulcher, Maria Conroy Hayden, Rosa Pacheco in fourth place, and several other people who were able to move up with the absence of some of the name athletes.
I was out in the field enjoying the day. This race is steeped in tradition. Over 600 runners came to the line today, making it close to record numbers. The heat, always a factor, showed up as per normal. You guys reported on the men and the women in the upper division. The day is about everyone. It's a community day. It's Bermuda Day. And both of you have run this occasion before, and I now take my challenge with it. But we give respect to those out there, guys like Larry Richardson pushing a wheelchair, and the folks that are getting up in age, guys like Archie Tucker, Peggy Cooper, 60 years old, who are still doing this annual marathon derby, we call it. Well, you brought the excitement, and we think of the names of the past, names like Ed Sherlock, names like Ray Ming, Ray Swan, and the names go on. And we think of the Debbie Butterfields from back in the day. All these names now are joined by the winners of today. Terrence Armstrong moves up to number 3 as he chases more and more titles. Somewhat missing today was the name of Jay Donowa, who would have added some more spice to the race. But as we always like to say, there's next year, and next year will bring excitement again. I'm Steve Burgess for Larry Legend, Larry Dunlop, and Anthony Encyclopedia Reyna. We say so long from down there where people are actually still finishing as we close.
We hope you have enjoyed the previous program produced by the
Bermuda Day can't be celebrated in the usual way this year. No half marathon and no parade around the streets of Hamilton. But I know that the holiday will still be marked in homes by families across the island, and I take this opportunity to send my best wishes to everyone as we enjoy the start of summer and remind ourselves of all that is good in Bermuda. In particular, I know I join with others in recognising the work that continues to be done at this time by our medical and nursing staff, by the members of the Bermuda Police Service and the Royal Bermuda Regiment, by other essential workers, and indeed by so many volunteers. We thank you again for your efforts and all you are doing to help others in need. I hope that everybody gets an opportunity to enjoy some rest and relaxation on this Bermuda Day as we stay safe and offer thanks for our blessings.